So, episode 24, I think. We don't have Dom with us because he's still in California.
He was asking about next week.
Yeah, I know. Pretty quick turnaround, but I don't know how the weather's going to be looking, but we're kind of looking down the barrel of, what, like 40 degrees tonight? Or in the early morning, it's supposed to get down to freezing. Right?
Yeah, freeze warning, I think by like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. So, and then it looks like up into the low 60s over the weekend, and the next week's like high of 50, 55 all week. So kind of that.
Run the waves down.
Late fall, cooling off slowly week by week.
Yeah. Which of course, it's like our schedule frees up a little bit, and we're like, hey, let's smoke more, but it's going to be so cold.
Yeah.
Our fall was literally like a week long, and then it turned into super cold.
It always happens. It's like we're so excited for the warm weather, and then we just don't get together.
Yep. It's lame.
Anyway, went to Rems and grabbed some things, huh?
So,
Yeah.
if you're open to it,
Yeah.
you know, you had a birthday yesterday.
Did.
I was fortunate enough to end up with two $50 cigars.
Oh.
So if you carry two, I would gift the other cigar to you.
Oh, okay.
It's not every day you get to smoke a $50 cigar.
That's very
I
true.
smoked the exact same one.
Yeah.
So I don't need to do it again. But if,
I was
if you
going to
want,
ask you if you had the second one yet
no,
or not.
I was saving it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's been in the humidor the whole time at like 20 or 72,
Okay.
which is about as high as I can get it. So
Impossible to say no.
it should be supple.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'll go for it.
I also picked up another cigar that I want you to try. You don't have to try it tonight unless you want a second. It's a Tampa Tobacco Company.
West Tampa Tobacco Company, huh?
Super peppery.
Established 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've never seen them in Rems, and I saw them a month ago. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. So I tried one, and
Well,
it was quite good.
Look,
can't believe that Dom just went out and bought. Like, we had talked about it, too.
it was bad.
Had a plan.
He's like, oh, I'll just get you the other 25 or whatever. And he's just like, no, I'm just going to go out and buy another one.
Which Tampa one should I try that? There's a red, the blue, and the white.
The 3 boxes, like, it didn't say that they were different at all, but they were different.
Why don't I try the white label one?
Yeah, so I don't know. I thought there'd be more like a Maduro or a whatever. No, just
It looks a little more blonde, but
West
still.
Tobacco Company. Sometimes those are the strongest, right?
No.
That's very true. It's like coffee. Everyone thinks that the darker the roast, the more, like, caffeinated it is, but no.
So I got 3 of these, Alex. There's another one in here if you
Okay.
want to take it with you or smoke it later.
Sounds good. I have kind of gotten to the point. I want to get back into smoking the pipe more often.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's infinitely cheaper than getting cigars all the time.
Yep.
And the quality for price is just
So
outstrips cigars by a lot.
exactly.
I got a new pipe lighter.
You did?
Kinda. I was gonna get an internal thing for my other lighter, just to like switch it out because I didn't really want to go through the whole hassle of trying to replace the flint. But then it wouldn't fit in there, so I just got a new outside piece as well. So I just got basically a new lighter.
I think that's the same as mine, dude.
Is it similar?
Pretty sure. Hold on.
Is yours black? Is yours black as well?
Yeah, with the symbol.
Oh wow. Because my dad's is he's got the silver with the black label, so I was like, I gotta get something that differentiates it a little bit.
Mine is in the box or not. Yeah. What to say?
Yes. Yeah, it came with this internal thing here, but I'm like, I'm more of the fan of the one I can just fill up in the bottom. So that was the internal thing. I got with it, but I mean, I can always switch it out.
Mine is the little
Yeah.
little cotton that you soak up, which dries so fast.
Yes. This one's got the little bottom that you can just push it in.
Nice. That's it. I love these little Zippos. They're so nice. All right. This guillotine.
This song is like prime fall like music for me. I heard it on a Berserk edit that Andy sent me right after I finished Berserk. He was like really waiting for me to finish it, so he sent it to me. And then I finished it basically during fall, so it was like,
I'll try it out first.
I actually get the other one, the special one, special cutter.
This one?
Yes. I like that just a little better. I also have that nice 18 hand.
You still doing the hard 70 grade?
No.
No. You just kind of off alcohol for now?
Yeah. It's been good.
It's good. Doesn't bother you if I drink, does it?
Not at all.
Yeah. Always like to ask. But Ethan's been doing the same thing. He was kind of, and I've gotten to the point, I don't know if I've talked about this, I've kind of gotten to the point where I'm mostly only drinking like 2 days a week.
Yep.
Because I think similar to your situation, like if I just have it around, I'll sip it in the evening and then I get really lethargic and not productive and kind of ruins your sleep, you're groggy in the morning and just...
like you think it helps you sleep, but it really doesn't. It actually messes with your REM cycle and then
Absolutely,
you get like cobwebs on the brain in the morning and takes you like most of the morning to kind of like get out. Yeah, it's just not great.
It wasn't good. So
I found the gummies. I take those
yeah.
later evening, kind of like most of the family's going to bed. I usually stay up a little bit later, but helps them wind down and then sleep like a baby.
Sure.
With those, that's been nice, and wake up feel refreshed.
Very nice.
But there's been a few times where I take a little too much of one. It's like, whoa.
Hits you.
Yeah.
Did we ever talk about the time you accidentally took one or too much of one and how it felt?
I don't know if I actually like described my trip or whatever. My trip.
How long did it last?
Most of the night.
Yeah.
Because did we talk about how what Nora experienced?
A little bit.
A little bit. I don't know if we went into detail about either of you guys, but
I can talk about my story. It's like it's more funny than anything, but because she took one, like she took a whole gummy, which is like that's crazy, and with no previous tolerance or anything, like that's kind of crazy.
Probably on an empty stomach.
Yeah. So I took the remainder of one or like a half of one, so like it wasn't the full gummy, and this was afterwards, so I'm like, I'm just gonna take one. Let's see what happens, I guess. And this was right before my friends were gonna come over, and so I was like, I'll just get super chilled out, and it was rough. And then one thing led to another. They maybe took a couple halves as well, except for one. We had a trip sitter. It wasn't very that bad. And we were like, well, we got to figure out what we want to eat. I don't know what the plan was for the night. Like we were just gonna hang out. We're like, we gotta go eat. So I took it before them. We were gonna go to KFC, and then mine was like my peak was starting, so I was like starting to peak. And we get to KFC, we get all our food, but we're waiting on like one of the guys' orders because like KFC just like could not get the orders down. And for real, like that's when it was peaking for me. So I legit felt like we were in there for so long. We were in there for like 30 to 45 minutes.
yeah.
But I felt like I was like just sitting there rubbing my face
Time
like this.
melting away.
It felt so long like we were in there. And we finally leave, we get our food, we go back, and then like one of my friends like ends up eating like literally like 10 pieces of chicken. It was crazy. And then like we played a game, you know. We were just kind of like super like kind of loopy and stuff. And then we just legit like Andy brought over the speaker that had like these lights on it and stuff. And we legit just like sat there looking at the lights on the speaker, just listening to music for like maybe 30 minutes to an hour. And that was pretty much it, and then kind of wore off. But it was like, the KFC one was big, because that was really peaking for me, so I was struggling. Like, I remember it, but not really. It almost felt like a dream. It was really weird. But, yeah, that was my first experience.
Were those the ones that I had given you that was just like the ones I bought online?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I first took a full one, and it was one of the ones that Connie had given us. So it had the full THC dose in it, and that was something else.
Are those the nightmare ones or whatever, or are those are different?
No, it was like, gosh, like 3 years ago, something like that. It's a while ago, but because the brands like constantly change whatever's available at the different dispensaries or locations. But did I talk about that at all?
I don't know, maybe.
So I had started, like, I kind of worked my way up to, like, having half of one, and I think they had, like, 10 milligrams for a full gummy. So I was like, okay, about half, and I'm kind of, feeling it. And then I don't know why, but I thought, let's just do a full one. Thinking, like, that would be the next step up, and then, like, not realizing, like, oh, that's really exponential right there. Thankfully, Haley and the kids weren't home. I was just kind of by myself. But I was watching YouTube and, like, videos that were not as nearly as funny as I thought they were like, making me laugh.
Yes.
Like, uncontrollably. Like, anyone who says that it doesn't make you, like, woozy or anything like that, they're lying.
Yeah, it does.
Because it's, like, it's not quite like alcohol, because, like, you are fully present, but, like, you're seeing the world through, like, a different lens.
It's very different.
It's very bizarre. And so I was just, like, sitting on the couch, and at the end of it, I was just kind of bummed because, like, I was wanting to be productive today.
Yeah.
And instead I just spent, like, 2 or 3 hours on the couch, kind of immobilized because this stuff was hitting me so hard.
Yeah.
But it did make me realize, like, like,
Take it easy.
if I don't have any responsibilities, like, if we're empty nested or don't have the kids around, like, taking a gummy and then right before bed and watching, like, a couple hours of Who's Line or something like that, and it's like that'd be fantastic, snacking on a bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it has its place, but at the same time, I'm like, I can see why people would, because they say it's not addictive, right? But it's like, well, the experience could be.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the drug.
Yeah.
Like, I could see why people would want to just zone out, and because it makes you enjoy things way more.
Yeah.
Media, conversation, all kinds of things,
Right.
food.
Yeah.
So it's like, why not take it? And there are people who basically live their lives by being able to know when they can smoke next or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's a thing.
I mean, I have patients that come in the door first thing in the morning. They're probably heading to work, and you can just smell the pot on it.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, it's starting your day off. Like, I just couldn't imagine, like, starting my day with a gummy and then like going to work and doing my thing. But yeah,
I mistakenly took one time, thinking that I had that I was just kind of like achy, and I was like, no, I don't feel so good. I'm kind of rusty. I might just take one to make me feel a little bit better. Come to find out, I was getting cold, and kind of lasted longer than I expected, and was still feeling it the next morning, and went to work. So I'm like trying to order all of this stuff on the shelf while having a cold and feeling mildly high. I'm like, this sucks.
Yeah, that's not good.
It's not good. Don't recommend that at all. So, we're a week out from the big day.
Yes, sir.
Things are happening, things are cooking.
Man,
Stuff has gone on since the last podcast.
Hans, could you pass me the buffalo chips and juice?
How are your feelings?
Did Donald Trump hurt your feelings?
well, Joe Biden called us garbage yesterday, so that was great.
That's okay, he's not up to anything.
No.
I'm cautiously optimistic. Things seem to be looking good, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think polls tend to favor the Democrats. There's that, silent, they call them the silent majority. I don't know. No one really knows, but I think there's a lot of Americans that are going to vote for Trump, but they're not telling their friends, they're not telling their family, they're not going to put a sign in the yard because they don't want to get vandalized. They just like his policies and feel like he's, what we need right now. And if a pollster were to call them, they're not going to entertain a pollster on the phone. It's usually people that are very enthusiastic about their candidate that will talk to a pollster on the phone and tell them all the things. But if you're like the quiet conservative supporting Trump, you probably are not. So, but they're tied up, and most of the swing states. If anything, Trump might be a little bit ahead, like half a point here and there, but I'd say that fares well for Republicans. But we're already seeing shenanigans going on. I mean, you got
There's Pennsylvania, some stuff.
Pennsylvania, I just saw today. You've already got like Virginia. You know, they tried to take some non-citizens off their voter rolls, and because the judge reversed that, and then that went to the Supreme Court, and they reversed it. So you got states trying to clean up their voter rolls, and then you got, you know, Biden-appointed judges that are trying to block that. And then you got ballot boxes on fire, apparently.
Really?
In 3 different states: Oregon, Washington, and somewhere else. So more like left-leaning states.
Huh.
So I don't know what's going on there. Well, and then locally we had, 12, 13 ballots cast fraudulently. They think it was one bad actor. That's showing up in the Denver news. Secretary of State, blew the whistle on it probably sooner than she should have. We were trying to, locally, hoping to investigate it, see if we could catch the person, and Jenna Griswold goes and blasts the horn about it. So our DA and our clerk, they're pretty pissed about it.
Huh.
She was basically meddling in our investigation. So I don't know, locally, is that going to be like an election integrity person that wants to try to prove that mail-in ballots are not as secure as everyone thinks? So then they're going to go and, I don't know if they stole ballots out of people's mailboxes. I don't know how you'd end up with 12 different ballots.
Yeah.
And then obviously the signatures didn't match up, but it sounds like 3 of them did get separated from the envelope, and then one of the election judges, who's a volunteer, ended up putting 3 of them through the scanner, so there's no way to get those back, because we don't know. Once they're separated from the envelope, they're all anonymous.
Right.
So I don't know if it's someone just trying to shine light on some of those, potential problems with mail-in ballot voting, or I don't know. But I mean, man, and I don't know if he or she put them all in the mail, so that's another probably felony or offense, right? It's one thing if you fill out someone's ballot, sign it, throw it in a Dropbox, but if you put it in the mail, then that I think ups that as well. So I don't know. It's interesting. We'll see what happens the next week. I'm just concerned, regardless. If she wins or if he wins, that means half of the country is going to be pissed. It's not great.
It's true.
I mean, if she wins, we're not going to have BLM riots. We're not, conservatives don't go out and burn down businesses and stuff. But then you're going to have a lot of people on the right that are, going to be really frustrated. Probably talks of, election interference and votes getting stolen, which that's not great. I mean, if there's something there, there's something there. We need to investigate it, but I don't know. And if he wins, it's probably going to be riots in the streets, and he's a fascist, and he's Hitler, and all the things.
So ready for legacy media to die.
Yes. Can't happen soon enough.
Most of the problem, man. I think they are on their deathbed in some way, because I don't see young people watching legacy media.
Mm.
So their time is on the clock.
Yep. Agreed.
Which I think is a good thing. And the fact that we have a 40 million view video of 3-hour uninterrupted interview with a presidential candidate,
yeah,
is great.
It is.
It's very good. So even if YouTube's like, no, it doesn't exist, try to go find it. I dare you.
Why would you not want the views on your platform?
Because they're
I know
Silicon
why,
Valley, yeah.
If you're actually in the business of hosting videos and getting views,
Imagine if it was on trending
for your
all
advertisers.
all the ad revenue.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, lots of interesting things going on as far as Kamala not really having much of a campaign at all. It's like a dead fish.
Yeah.
And
I think she's going to do things that she could have done over the past few years.
It's just been radio silence.
Yep.
Which it's either basically conceding ahead of time, or if they have some kind of weird ace in the hole, I don't know, but her pulling all her advertising out of North Carolina, which is kind of a big deal.
Yep. Yeah, that doesn't make much sense to me.
And there are, and then you got the Washington Post thing. They're not endorsing a candidate for the first time in a long time.
Yeah.
Strange.
Zuckerberg staying out of it, he said. Yeah, it's interesting.
I don't know exactly what it all means, or if I'm just like overcomplicating it, but
either she's a throwaway candidate and they know that just like, man, we probably should have pivoted for Biden sooner, but but then I think other people have made a pretty good argument that she was really Obama's pick early on. Like, he really wanted her. And he's even talked about how pretty she is and stuff.
As his VP back in the day?
No, I think for
For the Biden...
the next presidential pick, he never liked Biden.
Okay.
And so I don't know if the party just kind of went around Obama and chose Biden as like this transitional moderate that he actually isn't. But I think Obama's been really pushing for Kamala the whole time. So I don't know. So either she's very much the pick and it's been in the works for a long time, or they're just like, well, crap. Because I think they could have made some better choices. Well, better, yeah. Strategically better choices for their party than her. Because she's a horrible, horrible candidate.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's like listening to Joe Biden, but in a different way and almost worse. Like, just the word salads, and I don't think she actually understands much of anything. I mean, she basically slept her way to the top in California. Barely won her race against a Republican in California. I don't know what she did for the last 3.5 years. People inside said that she was basically day drinking and playing solitaire all the time.
Really?
Yeah. It's like, wow.
America's wine mom.
Which I think is why SNL, like, every time they do a skit, she's got a wine glass in her hand.
Yeah.
I think everyone kind of knows it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that one. Trying to remember the SNL skit. I don't watch SNL anymore, but sometimes it'll show up on Instagram, so I'll watch, like, a little reel. Yeah. But it was her and her husband sitting on the couch, and I think I can't remember what they were supposed to be doing, watching something. Anyway, and she's just basically saying, made a mistake, I should have gone with Josh. And her husband's like, oh, Josh Shapiro. She's like, no, Josh, the Cabernet. She brought out the bottle of Josh wine.
Nice. Oh my gosh.
Like, excellent. Yeah. Even her VP running mate, like Tim Walz, he's horrible. He basically is a self-proclaimed knucklehead. Well, if they win and something happens to her and he ends up being the president, we have a knucklehead for president. Like, he actually says he's a knucklehead.
I mean, that's kind of what's happening now.
Yeah, it's true.
Gosh,
that's the best we can do.
How many degrees removed from the actual candidate can we get? It's like that would be the secondary pick of the secondary pick,
right?
But he was playing video games with AOC, so that's cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Very
and
cool.
he had the green soda.
He's got my vote.
He's sitting there playing like this.
I know.
In a very tidy room.
I don't even know what they were playing, but this probably not fun.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
You've already put in your ballot? You? Are you, what do they call them? Guys for Kamala?
Guys for Kamala?
Yeah, it's like, I don't know what it is, but it's like White Guys for Kamala or something.
Yeah, White Guys for Kamala.
Some group that, like, keeps showing up on, like, the Charlie Kirk brainwash tour campus things. Like, I'm part of the Guys for Kamala group.
I've never heard of that, but
Super cringe.
it's funny.
Yeah, it's very remarkable to see people jump through hoops to try to, like, rationalize getting behind her.
Yeah.
And, like, even her own campaign is literally just, like, Trump was bad. Like, anytime she's asked a question about, like, whatever it is, 70% of the country thinks we're on the wrong track. And you just get this like word soup from her that just kind of has to be like, well, Trump is running for president. What? Huh?
Yeah.
Am I watching a Seinfeld episode? What's going on? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
You like saying Gore-Tex.
What?
You like saying Gore-Tex, don't you?
What?
Well, I watch a lot of the, not a lot, but I watch, some of the man on the street sort of clips, where asking people who they're voting for, and they see Kamala, and they're like, all right, what's your favorite policy of hers or position? And
She's a woman.
a lot of these you can tell are probably fairly intelligent people. Are like, I've not really been paying too much attention to that. It's like, what else is there to pay attention to?
Yeah.
Like, brat girl summer and joy vibes? Like, what are we talking about here? Well, just think it'd be neat to have, like, the first black female president. All right, well, how they govern, like, isn't that important? Like, their position, what they're going to support? Well, yeah, I suppose so. Are there any of those that you like in particular? You haven't really looked into it. It's like, I'd be so embarrassed to let those words out of my mouth. Why are you supporting Trump? I like golf. He likes golf.
MAGA, McDonald's, orange.
Yeah. I like orange tans. And
I like orange tan.
I like
I like
comb-overs.
orange man.
I like McDonald's.
I like McDonald's.
I do like
I don't like E.
McDonald's.
coli, though.
I feel like the people who are able to this is like a funny Arrested Development joke where the old mom is like talking to Jason Bateman, and she's like, a banana, Michael, what could it cost? $10? She's like, she has no idea. Like, these types of people that are able to like have someone else buy their groceries, or they buy groceries and like they don't look at the total.
Yeah.
Like, they're the ones who are like blind to the inflation that's going on.
Right.
Like, pay an extra $30 every time I fill up at the tank, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's everyone else who's actually feeling it that is able to kind of like look.
Yeah.
And I really hope that they're able to get around. It's like the damage that the legacy media did with Trump's image, where it's just all straw manning, completely. Not completely, like 98%.
Yep.
Just tar and feathering his image.
Yeah.
Seems to still kind of linger for people.
Yeah.
Like, they aren't paying attention. They didn't pay attention during his presidency. They're not paying attention now. And they just knew, like, oh yeah, he was the bad guy.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't vote for him.
Right.
Man. Yeah, I really don't know what to expect. I am, like I said, cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
But we will see. I'm just hoping that enough people are fed up with this and don't want more of it.
Well, and if Elon gets his way and can put together that government efficiency committee, he thinks he can cut out $2 trillion a year out of the budget, out of a $6 trillion budget. Like, that's,
I mean, honestly, that's probably not that hard.
a third. That would be incredible.
We hemorrhage money into the dumbest things.
Yeah.
So
Well, Trump's even hinted around about what would it look like if we got rid of federal income tax, which our country got by for over 100 years without income
it's a
tax.
beautiful word in the English dictionary. I said it before. Tariffs.
It's going to be huge.
I
Everyone's
put a
going to love
1,000,000% tariff. China, they backed up. I don't know. It's like,
And I've never been a huge fan of tariffs, but that's basically how we funded our government for, a century. It's like, oh, that's interesting. And I get the argument that it really can just be a tax that's passed on to the consumer, I suppose. But not always. Doesn't always work out that way. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
yeah. It's been interesting. Just wanted to touch on that since we're right
Yeah.
at the precipice of it, and it's been over a month since we did an episode, right? I don't even remember when the last one was, but
A little bit. How's the cigar, by the way?
It's pretty nice.
Looked like it had a little hard to light, maybe.
Yeah,
hard to start.
I had to cut it down a little bit farther because it was a little tight up here at the end. But smoke's clean.
Nice.
I don't know. I feel, even like on camera, I feel like a little guilty. Like, am I smoking this incorrectly? Like, no, it's my cigar.
Yeah.
I'm smoking how I want to.
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, neither of us paid, or you didn't pay for yours, I didn't pay for mine.
Yeah.
Kind of. So, I paid for yours, Dominic paid for mine. Let's put it that way.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dominic.
So it's, so, you know, whatever. But, yeah, I would say, like, I've had $15 ones that I would enjoy as much as this. I don't know if I'd say it's as good.
Right.
Because I don't have the barometer for
Yeah.
it. But, like, it's I'd rather have, what, 3.5, 4 good $15 cigars than one of these.
Agreed.
Which is kind of the rub, right?
You guys
Not bad.
kind of talking about the political thing. I heard a lot of it on like online and stuff. Do you guys think there's a real possibility of like World War III happening? Because I've been seeing like a ton of people being like, "Oh, if this happens, World War III is going to happen." But I'm like, don't exactly know how that would happen.
I could see if Kamala gets in, that certain people would like push for other stuff, but also like, I don't know, because like with World War II, we were kind of like hands off
For like most of
for most of it until Japan did what they did.
Right.
So like I could see, you know, like Putin maybe like pushing in more, possibly some other stuff happen here and there. I don't know if America would get directly involved unless we got attacked again, is the thing.
I can see that. Is Ukraine still under like
so.
siege from
so.
Russia?
It's
I don't
still
know.
ongoing.
I
Don't
heard
fully know what's going on
I don't know
there,
if it was it. I don't know if it was China or North Korea. It might have been North Korea that they sent out troops to aid Russia.
but U.S. troops?
No. Well, which ones is South Korea our allies?
Yeah.
So North Korea sent out troops to aid Russia.
Huh.
Oh.
So that's good against Ukraine. That's from what I've heard. I've just heard like there's actually like some pretty good like news outlets on like TikTok. A couple just independent creators or like other people that are just like they just want to talk about stuff that's going on. And there's this one guy that was like that mentioned that like on something. I was like, oh, that's kind of a big deal. Like, because I know like sending like money or other like supplies and stuff has been kind of going on, but like sending actual physical troops is like kind of big.
Yeah.
Just from what I've heard. I think it was North Korea, but it might have been China. I'm not sure.
I don't stay as abreast on foreign wars as other people tend to. Partially because like there's not a whole lot I can do, and it's
Foreign. It's not here.
It's you know the whole thing of like why soak your mind with things that like are just gonna like make your day worse, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's not to be like I want to stay ignorant. It's just like how beneficial is it for me to like stay on top of what's going on in Ukraine? Like Israel, a bit of a different story, but I'm also like it's incredibly complicated, and people have such heated opinions on it that it's like with me not knowing as much as maybe I should. I don't know. I tend to stay out of that just because I don't want to like say something and not be able to defend my position on it or whatever. But
Yeah, and there's so much to know. So Riley, to your question, I think that historically the best foreign policy when it comes to avoiding wars and whatnot is Reagan's peace through strength philosophy, where you basically just, you're a superpower, you've got a kick-ass army, military, and you just basically put it out there. If you threaten us, we're gonna blow the shit out of you. And that's like he's not an isolationist, kind of like FDR and even a lot of the Republicans during World War II.
Yeah, Trump was kind of keeping Putin at bay.
Yeah. But because of who he is and his willingness to like do what he needs to do, that's a really good deterrent. I don't think Russia would have invaded Ukraine.
If Trump was
The
in
Bidens.
office.
What's that?
If Trump was in office, you don't
If
think
Trump would have been in office, I think obviously the Bidens have had a relationship with Ukraine for a while, with Hunter on the Burisma board and all of that, and then I don't think we would have saw Hamas, invade Israel like that. I mean, haven't had anything like that since the Holocaust. I mean, that was a big deal. 1,200 people, a bunch of people kidnapped. And there's still Americans being held as hostages. Like, what's the U.S. doing about that? Nothing. Biden's sitting on the beach somewhere. I don't think that would have happened. I don't think Iran wouldn't have the money that they have now. Part of that was Trump basically told, other countries, like, don't buy oil from Iran, otherwise we're going to, tariff the snot out of your goods. And so China didn't. They quit buying up Iranian oil. And so they were not bankrupt, but they were like, had no cash, and now they're flush with cash. So that wouldn't have happened. So for no other reason, we need a strong leader that's willing to stand up to all of that. But unfortunately, the Democrat Party is rife with anti-Semites now, and they like to play footsie with these Palestinian sympathizers, in our own country on all these college campuses. Like Gays for Palestine. That makes a lot of sense. Like, go try that. You're gonna get thrown off a rooftop in your first day there. It's just
Jews for Hitler.
Yeah, they're just so delusional. So I think for no other reason, just having a really strong presence in the White House, a strong military, that's a really good deterrence. Doesn't mean that bad actors won't still try a few things here and there, but I don't think we'd see the global movements like we've seen from some of these countries. Just, you've got a house plant for a president for 4 years, and Putin's like, hold my beer.
Yeah, I think very similar to the World War II stuff, where it's just kind of, granted, you had kind of a megalomaniac pushing things and wanting to really give Germany its glory back.
Yep.
Well, because World War I and World War II are almost self-contained in a way. They cause a lot of stuff.
But they are very interconnected.
Yeah. Well, no, yes, they're connected. But I'm saying World War III, World War II was caused by World War I essentially.
Right.
Hitler wanted to bring Germany back to its former glory because of World War I, and he was served in World War I.
Yeah.
So that's how they're connected. I don't think there would be a World War III unless there was something that was so
exactly
that was so involving, like that.
I could really only see Russia or China being the instigators.
Yeah.
And China, they seem kind of docile. Still not great by any stretch of the imagination, but they're just kind of
Not doing anything right now.
not doing anything, just kind of being terrible,
They don't seem to be that aggressor
Yeah.
that you would expect.
even though they are kind of a superpower in their own way, but they're also incredibly mismanaged.
Yes.
So,
And economically, they're not in a good spot right now. They built all those super cities that are basically empty, borrowed a ton of money for their road and bridge initiative or whatever that thing was that they were trying to do, and so they're not in a great spot. They've got the largest land army on Earth, but as far as air superiority and nukes and all of that,
Naval superiority. Yeah.
But Russia, they're just kind of a sleeping giant. Iran's close to potentially having their own nuke, which that's probably the most frightening thing of all of it. And in North Korea, who knows what they would do, but again, they're not a huge superpower. But
that's the other thing is the Middle East, because they have that kind of Islamic jihadist hatred for the West,
right.
and so them taking a bite at us with 9/11. That's a thing, but at the same time, it's like can't really. They're not a major threat to us.
No.
I don't think.
Yeah. It's not
So
bad.
it's really just those bigger entities like Russia and China, which is Russia. I don't know. Like I really want to brush up on like 20th century Russian history because so much happened over there.
Yeah.
And I am ignorant to most of it. I know some of the broad strokes, like things being set into motion with like the Romanovs.
Bill Whittle's done a phenomenal couple of series that the Daily Wires now has on their app,
Yeah.
and they're filmed. And the cool thing is he brings in a bunch of film footage from that era, and so a lot of it's like you get
Nice.
to see the footage from that, and then he's just a good storyteller. But he's gone through, basically the rise and fall of Russia. He did a whole series on the Cold War. Andrea's super into it. Like she's
Nice.
watched it all, and she could probably sit down here and like give us a whole history lesson. I need to watch through it all because it's agreed. I don't quite have a good.
It's a bit of a blind spot for
Yeah.
me.
There's a lot of history there, and kind of need to understand their culture and the pride of the Russians, and the rise and fall of the families and oligarchs, and then Lenin and Stalin doing their thing, and what was going on in the world at that time, and why that was significant, and then why they killed so many of their own people. Like, what was that about?
Yeah.
I think to understand that's really important. A lot of Americans don't.
I agree. So yeah, I think a lot of people do miss those components when they're talking about World War III.
Yeah.
It's like what instigates it, and it's not just like it's not like a bar fight,
Yeah.
where
Right.
like someone throws a bottle and then
Now everyone's
and now
fighting.
I'm punching you now. It's
Yeah.
like no, it's not what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
It's something that usually one nation does to like another nation, kind of, but then it starts encouraging a lot of other countries and nations, and then it's like, okay, well, if this isn't handled, this is going to be a really big issue later. So then,
And also I think that like America's ability to really put a kibosh on World War II.
I just want the turkey. Dang it. But yeah.
Showed that we do have the strength, no matter who our leader is, we have the resources and the strength. That I think that's why ever since then we've had just these kind of little things where it's like, oh, we're just gonna poke Taiwan a little bit, we'll poke Ukraine.
Right.
There's not been a whole lot of serious, no one's playing Risk or anything like that.
Right.
Because they knew that if we got involved, then things would change and not be good for them. So, yeah, I think the likelihood of World War III happening is low, but like if the circumstances aligned, I could see it happening.
Yeah. Because like a lot of people are saying like, oh, like the result of this election could result in World War III. I'm like, I don't. Like maybe some countries get a little bit more like depending on who gets elected, they get like a little bit more confident in what they can do.
Yeah.
And then that can just, I think some stuff can happen, but I don't know if it will result in World War III. And like and especially having like NATO now, because NATO was a result of World War II, so it's like I feel like that would be. Did get involved? Like I don't know how exactly that would go.
I think people lead relatively boring lives, and they like to just say things like that.
Yeah.
Like the most interesting thing in their life is reading and watching the news, and so they like to say sensational things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, mom and dad are very much like that.
It's easy to listen to the talking heads because they've got news to sell, right?
It's a good
Or
band.
their blog or their podcast or whatever it ends up being.
Same as it ever was.
But to just say that, like, you do need to kind of back that up. It's like, all right, what would World War III be like, and would it just be an election that would cause that? I think it could definitely, set up a situation where there's less deterrence, maybe certain countries are more emboldened and start making moves that they maybe wouldn't have prior, perhaps.
Or with somebody else in charge. Yeah.
Right. I think one of the bigger concerns I have is just the hate for Western world, basically. I mean, that's the Middle East, right?
Yeah.
They hate Israel and they hate the U.S. because of what we stand for. And then you've got a bunch of neo-Marxists that also hate Israel and hate the Western world. They hate capitalism. They hate freedom.
See our episode with Brandon for that.
Right? Yeah, exactly. There's a good lesson there.
Yeah.
Link in description.
So it kind of makes sense on these college campuses while all of a sudden, seemingly out of nowhere, you have a bunch of college students that are all pro-Palestine and pro-Hamas and hate Israel. It's like, where did that come from? It's like, well, it's been stewing for a while. You know, you've got these college professors that they're basically self-proclaimed Marxists. They hate the U.S., they hate capitalism, they hate all of our structures, they hate all of our systems. And, now... that's a concern.
Do you know Chuckle Sandwich?
Chuckle Sandwich?
It's a podcast with Ted Nivison and Jay Schlatt.
I know who they are, yeah. I think I've probably seen some clips of the podcast.
So, a comedy podcast with a few YouTubers on it. They were talking about World War III, and they were saying, like, what if like the U.S. started World War III? Like if we just decided, you know what, we're going to attack Canada, what would anyone do?
Yeah.
Would anyone just, like, you know, England would be like, oh gosh,
What are you guys doing?
what's going on? We're just like, we've had enough. We're taking it back. They're all just, you know, like little barnacles on the edge of the U.S. anyway. They're just trying to copy us. Like, that's funny.
I was actually kind of thinking about that. I back when I was like in middle school, I was with a friend, and like we would just like kind of come up with like random games to play at recess. We had like really long recess times and stuff, just like hang out. Like we gotta figure out something to do, so we kind of come up with like elaborate like stories and stuff. He came up with this really interesting concept of World War III, basically where Russia invaded the U.S. So they invaded through Alaska, through the north.
It sounds like Red Dawn.
Yeah, basically, and then Cuba invaded through Florida, like invaded. You know, obviously, like this was like kind of like the Cold War if it was realized or whatever. If there's no nukes involved, but like I'm like that's kind of a cool concept, like getting invaded on like two fronts and stuff, like with two things if that happened. But I mean, like logistically, I don't think that would happen. I mean, they'd invade Alaska, but then they would have a different country to go through.
Yeah,
that would be America, and then Cuba is so small it would not be able to, like, it could get to Florida, but it would not so long. But it's just kind of a cool concept. Oh man.
I brought some spooky stuff.
Did you?
And, I don't know if you're interested, but for my birthday, she didn't realize I had already read it, but for my birthday, Haley got me a hardcover of
Oh snap! Uzumaki.
Uzumaki.
That is super cool. I've heard the anime is not good.
Yes. You familiar with Junji Ito? Nope. No. So he's a manga artist, but he does some of the most crazy like body horror stuff. I don't even remember when this came out. This was
like the 80s or something.
80s or 90s? I don't even know if it has the...
Super cool concept though. The story is, yeah. I mean, at the ending it's kind of crazy.
Uzumaki drawn from 98 to 99.
Yeah.
But like, just really cool artwork in here.
It's super cool.
And I've already read it. Have you read it?
I watched a Wendigo video on it, so I know everything.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I'd be willing to let you borrow it if you wanted to read it.
Maybe sometime, yeah.
Okay.
I'll let you know. But yeah,
Then I got the
that is super
Edgar Allan Poe there as well.
Excellent.
But I also there's a subreddit called r/no sleep,
Oh, yes.
and it's kind of
Can we read some 2 cents horror stories?
no. Ethan loves those, especially the bad ones. The premise of this is basically people submitting either like real life, like scary things that happen to them, or they basically write like short form horror, but present it as if it was like a real thing that happened to them.
Like they're like, oh, this like not this happened to me, but
Right.
like my girlfriend keeps imitating these voices or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's told like through the first person typically. And so I was going to read the top post, if you want me to. Spooky story.
Go ahead.
73,000 upvotes.
Let's do it.
The title is "My Sugar Daddy Asks Me for Weird Favors." Okay.
What could go wrong with that story?
Yeah. So I'll just go ahead and read this thing. It's not super long, but it might be like 10, 15 minutes of reading or so.
We got the time.
But I remember this one being pretty good, so I figured read all the spooky stuff tonight. So, his Tinder profile said he was 45, but he looked to be in his early 30s at most. And in italics, looking for sugar baby, $700 weekly, no sex. It sounded too good to be true, but as a broke university student, I was willing to take my chances. I swiped right, and Tinder let me know it was a match. His message came seconds later. "Hey there, sweetheart," smiley face. I cringed at that word. I hated it, but $700 was $700, so I sucked it up and replied, "Hey, winky face." His name was Jack, and he told me he owned his own business, although he never specified what kind of business it was. We talked for a while before he asked me for my Venmo to send me the first payment. After a few minutes, I got the notification. I stared at the $700 for at least 20 minutes. That's a long time to stare.
That is, yeah.
Expecting to wake up from a dream at any second, but it wasn't a dream. "You still there?" I clicked on the message. "Yeah, sorry, if you don't mind me asking, what are you looking for in return?" I stared at the chat until he replied, "I'm just looking for you to do a few favors for me," smiley face. That sounded like it was going to be sexual to me. "Like what?" "For example, the first thing I need you to do is pick up a delivery for me." That sounded innocent enough, but I was still expecting there to be some kind of twist. $700 to pick up a package? Come on, I wasn't that naive. "From the post office or something?" "No, I'll send you the address, but I'd rather not do this through Tinder. You got Kik?" Which is like a private messaging app.
Like WhatsApp or
Yeah. Or you can give me your number. Kik, what was this, 2011? I decided to give him my number instead. He texted me the address immediately, followed by the address to his house, where I would have to drop off the package. "I'm not home right now, but there's a key on the bottom of the blue flower pot near the door. Go inside and put the package on the coffee table in the living room. Make sure that you lock the door when you go inside the house and then lock it again when you leave." I grabbed my car keys and wallet and got into my car, putting the address into Google Maps. "Got it, on my way." My phone buzzed as I backed out of my driveway. "I'm serious, lock the door both times, please." I thought that was a little excessive, but I promised him that I would. The house looked abandoned. It had a broken chain link fence around it with a small door that was hanging on to dear life. It stuck out like a sore thumb, surrounded by houses that were a lot nicer to this one in comparison. "You here for jack shit?" I looked up to see a man standing in the open doorway of the house. He took up almost the entire space, his head skimming the top of the door frame. He was huge, in height and muscles, and his entire torso was covered in tattoos. Yeah, I guess," I replied, not moving from my spot on the sidewalk. "Stay right there," he said. I did. I actually don't think I would have moved even if he had asked me to. I looked around and realized that there was no one else on this street. I was a 21-year-old woman alone in a street. I gripped my car keys. A few minutes later, a man came back out carrying a cardboard box. It was about the size of a shoebox, but stained and damp on some of the corners. "Can you open your car?" he asked. I opened the trunk, not wanting that inside my car seats, and he set it in. "All right, there you go," he said. "Thanks," I replied. I walked around to the driver's side of the car and opened the door. "Oh, and one more thing," he said. I looked at him. "Watch out," he said. I didn't reply. I blasted my music as I drove to Jack's house, hoping it would drown out my anxiety. It didn't. I parked my car in the stone driveway and stayed inside the car admiring the house. It was huge, with stone pillars on the front porch, and the greenest grass I had ever seen in my life. I turned the car off and got out. I grabbed the package and walked to the front door, getting the key from where he said it would be. I opened the door and stepped in, closing it behind me. I thought about what he had said about locking the door when I got inside. I thought that was a little overboard, but as I stared at the closed door, something made me reach out and lock it. I walked inside, my feet cushioned by the thick maroon carpet, and admired the inside of the house. All the furniture was wooden and looked incredibly expensive. I would probably finish school a dozen times with the money that it took to furnish this place. I set the package down on the coffee table, and as I walked back to the door, I heard a phone ringing from somewhere inside the house. I froze. In my pocket, my phone buzzed. I took it out to look. Don't answer any calls that aren't from Marvin. I put my phone back and followed the sound of the phone, poking my head into a few different rooms before I found it in an office. I walked over to the desk and looked at the caller ID. Incoming call from Jack. That was odd. I grabbed my phone to look at the message again. I was starting to get a little creeped out and decided I wouldn't answer. Now she's starting to get creeped out. Just to be safe, and left the house, remembering to lock the door as I left. I've done a few more favors for Jack since then. I drove a BMW to a random park in another city only to get out and drive a different car back to Jack's house. He had me meet one of his employees at lunch, who then gave me a briefcase to deliver to the first house I had gone to, and told me he would know if I looked inside. On several occasions, he asked me to drive down to that same house and stay with the guy, whose name was Julio, for a certain amount of time. In total, I've made around $3,500. Most recently, Jack asked me to stay in his house overnight. I woke up to a text message from him. I need you to spend the night at my house. I hadn't ever seen him in person, but I had talked to him on the phone a few times. He proceeded to tell me that he would pay me $1,000 to spend the night at the house, provided that I followed a few rules. I drove to his house that evening. The driveway was empty, and it normally was, but the porch light was on. I walked up, unlocked the door, went inside, and then locked it again. Everything in the house looked the same. Jack had told me over the phone that he would leave the list of rules on the dining room table. I set all my stuff down in the living room. My bags looked like garbage compared to the fancy furniture in there. I wandered into the kitchen and then to the dining room. Sure enough, there was a piece of paper on the wooden table held down by an empty glass. Lock the door when you come in. Only answer calls from Marvin. Don't turn on any faucets between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. Don't open the door for anyone, no matter who they say they are, after 10 p.m. If the door to the closet at the end of the hall is open, sleep in the library. If closed, sleep in any of the bedrooms. The gardener comes at midnight. If he starts knocking on the windows, hide. Turn the TV on and let it play on static through the night. Do not forget to do this, in all caps. Help yourself to anything in the fridge, smiley face. I'll pay you in the morning. Good night.
That's not worth $1,000. People say that is not worth $1,000.
Marvin, the gardeners, the closet door.
It's like Five Nights at Freddy's.
I made sure to follow all the rules. To be honest, I was regretting my decision, but seeing as I was already here and I was getting paid, I decided to stay anyway. I figured as long as I followed all the rules, it'd be perfectly fine. Still, it felt a little odd. What was this, a haunted house? Nevertheless, I lounged around the house for a few hours, as I was planning on going to sleep around 9, since that's the time that all the weird shit would begin to happen. At 8:50, I brushed my teeth using the faucet for the last time before 9. I checked the closet in the hallway, and upon seeing that it was open, I moved my stuff into the library and got ready to sleep on the couch. I locked the doors just in case and laid on the couch scrolling through my phone. I hadn't gotten any more messages from Jack, and I started to think up scenarios and reasons as to why he had such a strict, peculiar set of rules in his house. I had dozed off at some point because at exactly 10:16 p.m., I was woken up by the doorbell ringing. I was about to get up to check, but then I remembered the rule: don't open the door for anyone, no matter who they say they are, after 10 p.m.
After 10.
I stayed on the couch, trying not to move, paranoid that they would hear even the slightest sound. "It's the police, open up!" I didn't move. "Hello? It's the police, open up or we're coming in." I still didn't move, but I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. There was silence for a little while after that. Then the doorbell rang again. "Hey, it's Jack, let me in." It sounded like Jack, but still I didn't get up. He would have a key, wouldn't he? Why would he need to let me in? This continued for almost a full hour. Different people would ring the doorbell, announce themselves, and then disappear when I didn't respond. I was finally able to fall asleep, and the gardener never came. When I woke up the next morning, I heard someone in the kitchen. I got up slowly and unlocked the door as quietly as possible, taking my phone with me and walking across the living room and into the kitchen. I stopped at the entrance and peered in. It was Jack. He was standing in front of the stove, stirring something as the coffee machine brewed coffee on the counter behind him. "Hey, good morning," he said when he saw me. "Hi," I replied, nervous. I hadn't seen him in person before, but he looked exactly like his pictures online. "Scrambled eggs?" he asked, motioning to the pan with a wooden spoon. "Yeah, thanks," I replied, walking over to take the plate from him. I ate my breakfast and drank some coffee in silence. "So how was it?" he asked. "It was okay. Nothing super freaky happened," I replied. "Cool," he replied. There was an awkwardness in the room. "I think I'm going to go now. I have class," I trailed off. I didn't, but I really wanted to get out of there. "Oh, no, yeah, sure, I'll talk to you some other time," he replied. I grabbed my stuff, and he walked me to my car. I could see him standing in the driveway, staring at me as I left. When I got home, I unpacked all my stuff and noticed that I had still had the list with me. I sat on my bed and read it again. I felt my body tense up as I realized that I had forgotten something. Turn the TV on and let it play static through the night. Do not forget to do this. I stared at the words on the page until they lost meaning. Beside me, my phone buzzed, snapping me back to reality. It was the $1,000 payment. I looked at my phone and then back at the list. Maybe it wasn't an important step? As I was thinking this over, a text from Jack came in. "I'm not in town right now. I should be back next week, so you're free from running any more errands for me until then. Just sent the payment, go do something fun." I stared at the message and read it again, and once more for good measure. "I'm not in town right now." I thought back to this morning and how Jack was in his house, how he gave me breakfast. Within minutes, a new text came in this time from a number that I didn't recognize. "Did you forget to do something?" Winky face. The text was followed by a picture of Jack, or whoever this version of Jack was, standing in front of the TV. I didn't respond. Next came another picture. This one was of the outside of my house. It was followed by another text. "Watch out." That's the end.
That's the end.
That's the end.
I don't like that.
So these are just stories that people make up and post on
Yeah.
Reddit.
Yeah, and one of the top comments here is, you forgot 2 rules, actually. The TV, and you didn't lock the door behind you when you left. That's why fake Jack was able to follow you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Weird.
That is interesting.
Yeah. So, like, someone's saying, "All I want to know is, where is Marvin?" But
Interesting.
yeah, it's like it's not the best stuff, but it's really interesting, and like some of the coolest stories I've read have kind of come from that subreddit. So the best ones typically are. Oh, we're out of juice.
Might be done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here you go. You can use this one.
Yeah, okay. I would use mine, but it might be empty. The more long form stuff I find to be a bit more interesting because it's really hard to make good short form horror, I've realized.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you don't have a lot of room to work with.
Riley, can you pass the jerky again?
Yes.
Jerky.
Okay. Sorry. We'll just... Little pee. I like those little like short stories though. They're so good. It like leaves a lot up to the imagination of like she forgot the rules. There's possibly a fake Jack. But then what are the voices outside?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like yeah. It's a little dark over here. Looking white.
It's like, was he able to get in because of the TV not being turned on?
Yeah.
So it's like the thing tries the door and that doesn't work.
It's like Ring. It just goes through the TV.
Nice, yeah. You ever see Pulse?
I don't think so.
I think it was originally a Japanese movie, but then they did like a bad American remake, as they tend to do, kind of like with Ring. That was the same thing. But that's one that's like there's like ghosts in people's computers. Like right around the beginning of like the internet getting big, they did like a horror thing with that, which I never saw it, but I heard the original was pretty good. You guys saw The Thing finally, right?
Yep.
Oh,
Dude,
so good, isn't it?
it is.
And the special effects, all the practical stuff,
For the 70s?
terrifying, man.
Oh.
Yeah, I think that was like exactly 1980 when that was
it?
released. So, yeah, nuts, huh? And yeah, apparently, pretty sure John Carpenter has gone on record saying that like if you pay attention to the movie, it is possible to know whether or not any of the two last guys are one of the Thing.
I tried, because you
Yeah.
said that.
Yeah.
You'd have to have a notebook out, take notes.
It's like people like trying to like break down and analyze The Shining and like find all of the themes and
Yep.
it's like at a certain point, you know, it can be too much. But when the maker of the movie is like, yeah, you can figure it out, I'm like, oh, don't do that to me.
I've never read The Shining. I've seen the movie a couple times, which really well done.
Oh yeah, one of the
But
best.
I know the book is like another level. I think I'd like to read it at some point. Like I'm kind of careful with what I read, you know. But there's just some stories that I think are, especially when there's like deeper layers there that could be uncovered. Have you seen the new M. Night Shyamalan movie, The Watchers?
The Watchers.
Yeah, it's on our flight to Hawaii.
The Watchers.
Yeah.
You sure it's an
I-
M. Night
I never-
Shyamalan movie? I don't.
It may be one he produced, kind of like with Devil, where it's
Oh.
not technically an M. Night Shyamalan movie, he just produced it.
It very much feels like a story he would make.
Because his latest movie was it called Trap?
Yeah, I've heard that it was kind of weird.
I think his.
A lot of people really liked it, and a lot of people were like,
The serial killer in
Not
the
great.
concert or something.
I think
Yeah.
the story was M. Night Shyamalan, but the director,
No, it's directed by. Wait, no.
is it his daughter?
Ishana Night Shyamalan? Yeah, I think it might be his daughter that
Yeah.
did it.
Really?
Yeah.
Show me the poster.
It's got.
Who dat? Dakota Fanning, huh?
I'd recommend it.
I've never seen this before.
I think it's recent. When we were on our flight,
Came
a lot
out-
of those
came out
longer
in June.
flights,
Oh, wow.
you get
So
you
very
know, free
recent.
movies on there.
Yeah.
And so on this flight, it was United, and so
Ooh,
there's like
really
a
broke.
TV built in the back, a screen built in the back of the seat, and you can scroll through like new releases. I mean, they alphabetically hundreds of movies that you can watch for free, just one after another if you want
Yeah.
to. And so I was scrolling through new releases and Watchers by M. Night Shyamalan. I'm like, because I like his stuff, and had never heard of this one. So apparently it didn't make it to theaters here. I don't know.
I think it just went maybe just straight to streaming, probably. I don't know.
Yeah, but it made me think of like Book of Enoch because they talked about, the fallen angels were called the Watchers.
What is it about exactly?
Oh my soul. I could read
Typical M. Night Shyamalan without ruining the whole movie. People finding themselves out in the forest, and then weird stuff's happening,
Oh,
and
right up your alley, huh?
You love being lost in the forest.
the gal's like driving through the forest and gets lost, and all of a sudden turns around, their car's not there anymore, and then runs into someone. They're like, "You need to get in this structure right now." Get in there. There's like a one-way window in there.
Trapped in a vast, untouched forest in the west of Ireland. Becomes trapped alongside three strangers who are stalked by mysterious creatures every night.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's produced by her dad, but written and directed by her.
Okay.
Adapted from a book, The Watchers by A.M. Shine. So it's originally a book of
That'd be a good book. You could tell, like, you could have done a lot.
It's kind of like
Not that you could do a lot more with the movie, but there was probably a lot more there than showed up in the movie, which definitely felt like it was adapted from a book.
Okay.
But it was good. It was creepy and weird.
same
Trying to,
same kind of vibes as her dad.
trying to figure out what's going on, and
I didn't know it existed until now.
yeah, worth watching. Not for the kids around, but it's not. It's PG-13, so it's more just like thriller, but not gory or anything.
Nice.
Yeah. mean, when I was a kid, there was a lot of great short stories that were on TV, like Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that was some good stuff. You know, then you got like Twilight Zone. Those are always interesting, but
I remember watching or reading a like a comic version of one of the Tales of the Crypt stories about the guy who owns like a home for like disabled people, and he like mistreats them. Is a really fantastic one. Don't know exactly how it worked, but like he had like people in his home who were like blind or something like that, and he would like be very cruel to them. And he had these like 2 or 3 dogs who were like very ravenous. And the end of the story, I don't remember how it got to this point, but the people had built in the basement this labyrinth of really tight corridors. And like put glass all over the floor and razor blades all over the walls.
right.
And then drugged him, put him down there, and when he woke up, they let loose the dogs into the labyrinth they had starved for a few days, shut the door and turn off the lights.
Wow.
I'm like, damn, that's crazy. And that was like, I don't know, 60s, 70s when they did that kind of stuff. Because I think the show adapted from like older stories or older comics or something like that. I don't remember exactly how it worked, but yeah, I've come across a couple of those Tales from the Crypt stories, and they're pretty intense. And I want to go through more of them.
There's Tales from the Crypt, but then there's also Tales from the Dark Side.
That's right. I
And
never.
that intro music, like, takes me right back to my childhood.
Yeah.
I think I can find that.
I've heard of that one, but I don't know anything about it.
I'm trying to remember. I don't know if I can remember any of those episodes or not. And then we also had Ray Bradbury Theater.
Nice.
And there were little Ray Bradbury shorts that they made into like little TV shows, and those were great.
Man, I'm loving going through something wicked.
Oh,
How's Dracula been? Did you finish it?
excellent.
It's great.
So I'm just listening to it.
Yeah.
But it's
I love what do they call it? Epistolary. It's all letters. Really cool.
letters, journal entries, very, just makes you feel like you're back in time. You know, it's how they lived, like no phones. Everything just takes longer because you got to put a letter in the mail and then they receive it. Oh, now they're kind of clued in on what's going on, but then they have to wait for the next correspondence.
Yeah. I love the like trope of like, dear Jonathan, I write you at my darkest hour.
Yeah,
Stuff like
it's
that.
so cool.
Yeah.
So I'm 3 hours away from finishing it. It's hard to say because I do like 1.2 speed. Like this one, it's just the right speed where I think I'm at 1.2. So if it says it's a 15-hour book, it's actually like a 12-hour book or whatever. But
Most narrators, I can speed them up by like 20%.
yeah, and it's
They're
still
just a little
be
slow.
good to listen to. They don't sound like a chipmunk or anything. But it's at least, this is the Audible version, which was free with a premium account, which is cool.
You know who's reading it?
So Tim Curry,
Nice.
Oh,
which is excellent.
Nice.
And then at least 4 other people. There's
Cool.
2 female voices.
Does that voice all the characters?
So
Cool.
Jonathan's wife, and then Lucy, who's one of the main characters. It's great, and yeah, just a great story. I like how it's written.
Really atmospheric and mysterious too.
Very much so. A lot of detail about, you know, the mist creeps up the side of a building, and then describing the mist and how it looks like it could almost like crawl in your window, and then the rats, and then there's hundreds of rats, and then all of a sudden they all have like little red eyes, and but then we brought the hounds in, but the hounds wouldn't go over the threshold until we carried them over, and then you know, it's just like it's cool stuff.
Yeah. It's like it's not just like setting it all out there and like making it plain as day. It's
Right.
like very mysterious and supernatural, and
Yep.
I feel like the oh gosh, Francis Ford Coppola, who did the '92 one with Gary Oldman,
Yeah,
Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves, and
Winona Ryder,
Winona Ryder. Yeah.
which was almost a little too crazy for its own good, but I feel like that's the only one that's gotten close to like nailing that kind of like like otherworldly
Yeah.
vibe
Yeah.
that I feel the book has.
Yeah.
But,
For when it was written, what they understood about science at the time, of course, what's the character's name?
Van Helsing.
Ben Helsing, this doctor that has all these theories about the brain and how it works, and he's like troubleshooting and thinking this stuff through in the moment as it's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great read. Way better than I was actually expecting. Like, I read Frankenstein last year. Yeah, Mary Shelley, she was a depressed person.
Yeah.
Great book, but
I want to get to that one.
pretty, not even really dark, just
Very bleak.
very bleak and depressing. And
Frankenstein.
yeah, especially
Yeah,
the
it is.
version I listened to on Audible, just the narrator's voice is like so forlorn, and yeah, it's but yeah, it's a great read. I'm looking forward to finishing it. Makes me want to go back and watch one of the movies
Adaptations,
again.
Yeah, I never watched any of the like Bela Lugosi or. There's been dozens of Dracula adaptations.
There have, yeah.
Most are bad, but
Yep.
there's supposed to be a few good ones. So I try to avoid Dracula 2000 or whatever the heck that one was called.
Oh, yeah.
I remember
Interview with a Vampire. Did we watch that one?
what was her name who wrote that? The woman who came from the religious background, but then she started writing like sexy books. Something Rice, Anne Rice.
Anne Rice, yeah.
Yeah, that
Those
was
are
one-
like sexy horror, right? Is that what she
Yeah,
writes?
kind of like the proto Twilight kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Christy and Travis had me watch that. Christy had me watch a bunch of Brad Pitt movies when I was over at her house, like Legends of the Fall,
Oh, yeah.
stuff like that. Meet Joe Black,
Yep.
and I remember interviews with a vampire or interview with a vampire
Yep.
because they're interviewing. Was it Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt?
Brad Pitt's there to interview Tom Cruise.
I thought it was.
Is that right?
I thought someone was like a normal human was interviewing one of them, and the whole movie is told in flashback through the interview.
I watched it in theaters
Yeah.
whenever it came out in the 90s.
I mean, it's probably been like 15 years for me, too.
Yeah,
but-
so I can't really remember much more. Remember there's a lot of blood.
Mhm.
People in the theater were puking. That was nice.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. People
Wow.
got sick.
That's kind of surprising, actually.
Yeah. And I don't remember that. There was one scene where all the female vampires were there and blood was getting drained, and I'm a little squeamish with some stuff. That wasn't too bad, but yeah, people are like having issues.
Oh. Yeah, I don't recall that one as well. Just the dark side.
Tales from the Dark Side.
There's another dimension, not of this world. Neither sight nor sound. Something, something.
Man lives in the sunlit world of what he believes to be reality.
Oh my gosh, it is the Twilight Zone.
But there is, unseen by most, an underworld. A place that is just as real, but not as brightly lit.
So cheesy.
Dark side.
It's good. They use the same font, you know.
Yeah. So how old is that?
That would have been 80s.
80s?
Probably. I mean, when I would have seen it on TV, probably would have been like early to mid 80s.
Okay.
But I mean, that stuff would come on in the evenings, and for whatever reason, Mom and Dad would like let us watch it.
Yeah, Mom was more into horror than she let on.
She
She would read Stephen King.
Yeah, I remember as a kid her telling me, that when she read such and such a book, of course Dad was at work during the day, she'd be at home, Mike was little, she would have to sit in a corner of the room so there's nothing behind her
Wow.
to read the book because it would freak her out so much.
I think she said that of The Shining. So I remember
Yeah.
her saying she read it during the daytime and it freaked her out.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I developed a love for reading, because I was not a great reader when I was younger. For whatever reason, I think if you enjoy something, you do it more, then you get better at it. And I just didn't really like reading a whole lot.
I don't like the act of reading a whole lot. I don't know if that's because I have
sitting there,
technology brain or something.
Holding a book, flipping a page.
I enjoy the experience, but the act of doing it I find difficult. I think just like literally physically, I have a hard time with it. Not that I'm like dyslexic or ADD or whatever, but I just don't enjoy it as much as like having someone narrate it to me.
Yeah.
I can soak that in way better.
I think a lot of people are more auditory learners anyway.
I mean, I remember when we first started getting into audiobooks because Mom did the same thing as well. I don't know if she kind of started and then I did it as well, or it just kind of started to appear in the library. But like I would go to the kids section, I was like, oh, here's a full like audiobook section. And so that's how I literally pulled the one I found most interesting, which was book 7 of Unfortunate Events. And the whole series, except for a couple books narrated by the author or narrated by Tim Curry. Amazing job. Fell in love with it from that. And one of the first ones I got early on was just a simple version of Dracula. And I went through it, and I was probably like, I don't know, 14, 15. And I loved it.
Oliver just read Dracula. He got a Scholastic for Kids Dracula.
Like abridged and cool.
And I asked him if he liked it. He's like, it was good. It was pretty scary, though, he said.
It is pretty scary.
And if you look through it, it's like, and it's graphic as well. There's pictures in there. And so I've asked him as I'm listening to my book, I'm like, Oliver, is Val Van Helsing, is he in your book? He's like, oh, yeah.
Nice.
Like, what about Lucy? Yep.
Nice.
What about the Hounds of Hell? Yeah. Like, okay. And he read it pretty quick.
Wow.
Yeah, which I'm impressed by. He seems like he's done okay with that stuff. He, every once in a while, will watch a show. I'm trying to think what the most recent one was, where it was just kind of like this unknown thing. It wasn't a horror movie or anything, so we don't really watch those, especially with him around. But it was just odd enough that he just got uncomfortable. And you could tell because he gets really quiet and starts to kind of shrink down. Like, are you okay? He's like, nah. He's like, I don't like this. I don't think it's for me. I'm like, totally cool. I can't remember what it was now, but something you wouldn't think, like a Jurassic Park, but not that. But something that like, and not even like scary dinosaurs, but just
had intense scenes.
Yeah, and there's just like this unknown thing or something, and they just kind of caught him wrong. And it's like, that's okay. You don't have to. No, could borrow the lighter again.
Yeah, sure. I was gonna go somewhere with that.
But yeah, Dracula's been great. Highly recommended.
Yeah.
With Riley, it's in our Audible account if you choose to partake.
Okay.
I do really good with, like, if I'm mowing the lawn or, you know, just doing something that's somewhat mindless. You know, I can listen to something and usually pay attention pretty well. If I'm grocery shopping, like, I'll go to Sam's by myself. I'll just put on, you know, the book. But if I'm trying to do something that takes a little bit of mental power, it's just, I'll realize I just missed like 2 chapters because I wasn't even paying attention.
Yep.
That's
I can't do that when I'm like editing photos. When I'm doing photos, I need like Joe Rogan is fine. Sometimes if I'm in the mood, I'll be like, no, I'm going to listen to 2 albums. It's like I have a backlog of albums I want to listen to, so I'll throw a couple of those on.
Right.
That works.
But nothing where you have to really pay attention to the storyline and the plot.
I'm the designated dishes guy in our house, so that's a good, you know. And right now our dishwasher is broken, so I'm hand washing everything. So that's a good like 30 minutes where I can just put on the earbud and man, Something Wicked has been absolutely fantastic. I cannot recommend it enough. Have you read Fahrenheit? Or listened to it?
No. So that's, I think, one of the only true dystopian books I've never read.
Oh, it's so good.
We have the book, and we have it on Audible.
It's so good.
I was trying to read through those while Riley was in school. So I got through 84, Animal Farm,
Brave New World.
Brave New World. There's another one in there. But yeah, never. I mean, I've watched there's been a couple of movies over the years, like a more recent one, and it was okay. Just need to read it.
His prose, have you ever read anything of his at all?
I had it was a book. It was Ray Bradbury and not Stephen King, but
So like a short story collection.
short story collection. I had a decent amount of books from my younger years. They're all gone. And I have no memory of where they would have gone. I had the complete works of Edgar Allan Poe. I had a bunch of Stephen King books. Maybe
Maybe they got Fahrenheited.
I don't know. Like I would never throw a book away unless there's something to throw away, but
You'd rather just like give it away, if anything.
who would I give it to? Like, I wouldn't try to sell books in a yard sale. I don't know.
I mean, maybe stuff gets lost in the move.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those books were from, when I still lived at home before Andrew and I met, and I was in school, and it's weird. I don't know. Wish I still had them.
His prose is amazing. It's simultaneously like very poetic, but incredibly direct and straightforward.
Yeah.
And like I feel like he's able to just say things like they are, and like every sentence is just like candy in my ears.
Yeah.
I just love listening to the way he describes things. So yeah, Fahrenheit's probably in my top 3 books of all time.
Yeah.
I love that thing. And then
It's definitely on my list.
really influenced my book the way, so I really like how he's able to let it breathe, but also like the plot in that book actually moves pretty quickly.
Okay.
It's relatively small book, all things considered, but yeah, Something Wicked has been fantastic. I was gonna say Riley. Any like horror books that you've read?
Not really. I mean, the only one was like really Frankenstein. I don't like really read a lot of books anymore. Like if I'm ever gonna like put something on the list, I usually just like a YouTube video or something. But not like a ton of like books or anything.
Okay.
I go through phases like that too. Like I wasn't reading. I say read. I mostly listen to stuff, but I wasn't listening to any audiobooks for a little bit. I was kind of doing more Joe Rogan podcasts, Blurry Creatures podcasts, and then Sasquatch Chronicles. But then now I'm really behind on all of those, and I'm back to, cranked through several books again recently, and kind of back into that mode again. Maybe it's a winter thing. I don't know.
I don't know either, but I've definitely felt like that I've wanted to get back into it too. I recently finished up Mice and Men,
Nice.
which was great.
Yeah.
And now I'm doing Something Wicked. And
That's Steinbeck?
Yes. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And now I'm doing this one, and I'm loving it. It's really good. It's like for a while, I'd said like I was kind of at the threshold of like wanting to do something big and having like 4 options and not knowing where to go. And I'm like, no, I just need to go through like some good old American classics.
Yeah.
And all that. Like after having done Blood Meridian, it's like I just want to read some good American books.
Yeah.
It's like I still want to do Moby Dick. I still want to do Crime and Punishment, all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's like they're just too big for me right now.
Agreed.
I want something that I can consume quickly and get that kind of dopamine of finishing it and being able to like ponder it and digest it. And
Yeah.
So that's been good. I saw you had when you put Audible on Mom and Dad's phone. I saw you had No Country for Old Men on there.
I was reading No Country for Old Men. I haven't gotten through very far.
You really
but
like you like the movie too, right?
I
You bought
really
it.
like the movie. It's
I've
like
never seen the movie.
one
You
of
couldn't
the
even
top
tell you what it's
movies.
about.
The movie is fantastic. It's basically about a I don't even remember what exactly his profession is, but this guy in Texas who is out in his truck and he comes across the scene of a drug deal gone awry, and there's like only one survivor and he's like barely alive, and there's a suitcase full of money, and he decides to take it and takes it home, and he's thinking in his head, I kind of feel bad about leaving that guy out there dead to die, and so he goes back out there to bring him water and gets spotted. And so the whole rest of the movie is basically him trying to not be killed because he took all of the money from this drug deal that went awry.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
Huh.
It's so good.
All right. I'll check it out.
Yeah, the book was written by Cormac McCarthy, who did Blood Meridian and The Road,
Yeah.
which is another one I want to get to. But yeah, I got like a laundry list of good old American books to get through. Like at some point, I want to do like James Joyce stuff, like Ulysses and all that, but that's also really dense stuff that I just feel like
Yes.
I have 4 kids. I'm not going to read Ulysses right now.
Got your whole life ahead of you.
Yeah, it's like I want to get to the Odyssey and all of that too, but I just can't do it.
Yeah.
Can't do it. I really want to, but
If you're ever interested, I've got some abbreviated versions of those that I got in my
Oh, yeah?
mythology class.
I
And
don't
it's
really
great
wanna-
because it's like
I don't want to do like a poem version of the Odyssey.
Yeah.
I'd rather have it in more of a normal prose form.
Yeah.
Because I'm a normie.
yeah,
But
great stories.
Mhm.
I was talking to, was that Nora? I was talking to Nora when we were in Hawaii. Just nothing better than like, you know, outside I wanted to smoke a cigar. There's like a grassy area right in front of the rocky beach there, right outside our condo. I think Andrea's already in bed. She's a bit early, but I wanted to smoke a cigar. Nora wanted to join me, which is great because it was kind of the last day before we dropped her off at YWAM, so she got some daddy-daughter time, and I was just trying to encourage her. It's like, you know, leaders are readers, so I really want to encourage you to read a lot. It was like, read a lot of the old classics. If nothing else, it makes it at least interesting in conversation. You know, if you're like, oh yeah, you know, the story of, you know, Odysseus and the story of, you know, what happened with, you know, Troy and all you know, great stories, great mythology. I think it's just good to know that stuff, even if you didn't go to college or you're not an academic, because there's just so much in Western culture that, you know, adopts from a lot of that stuff that it's just good to know. I'm gonna run inside real quick and check on Oliver, and I'll be right back.
okay. Wife and kids are at home watching Over the Garden Wall without me.
No.
They didn't even ask.
Oh, that stinks.
That's okay.
We had a big kind of watch party of it.
Oh, yeah?
With a bunch of my friends, and like I was gonna rewatch it. Sean wanted to rewatch it, you know, and I've done it both ways, where you can watch the whole thing at once.
That's typically how we
That's
do it, because
typically
it's a movie. It's basically a movie.
It's a 2-hour movie essentially.
like
Or-
an hour 40 or something.
Yeah, but the first time I watched it through a whole week, so I watched like an episode a day or something.
I think we did it in like 2 or 3, like 3 sittings the first time.
Yeah, and like you could do either one. I think they're both good. Like if you really want to like drag out the whole fall feeling, that's good to do. But like, especially when you get to the last couple episodes, you just want to keep watching and like see what happens. But
It is nice to have it all in one sitting, because like then you can
really,
soak in the details a lot better.
yes. So this was like my third or fourth rewatch of it, but like because we invited a bunch of like friends over, so it was like half the group seen it, half the group hadn't seen it, so it was really good to rewatch it. And there was a lot of stuff I didn't even like kind of like notice, which was like super cool. I don't know, it's just such a good show.
There's things from it that have like crept into our normal everyday speak.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've regularly said, "Ain't that just the way?"
Ain't that just the way?
multiple times, and Haley will just randomly break out into the potatoes and molasses song. And molasses. If you want some, oh, just ask us.
Oh, it's so good. And
Greg.
the score, I got really into the score recently.
yeah, it's so good.
So good. I think, I don't know, unfortunately, I think Jack Jones died recently. The guy that did a lot of the singing. He did the singing main theme, and then he did, I think he did a couple other stuff in there, but he recently passed away. But
What's the guy's name who made it? Patrick something?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's Patrick something.
He hasn't really done anything else, has he?
I don't think so. No, I think that's the main thing that he did.
Yeah.
Like he maybe was on like other stuff that that was produced, but I don't think he's done anything else really.
It's kind of like with Alex Hirsch,
Yeah,
who it's kind of unfortunate that like looking at his Twitter, like he basically wants like his next thing that he makes to be like super LGBT inclusive kind of, you know, Steven Universe sort of thing, where it's like, let's just pump all the woke politics into the show, which is unfortunate. But man, Gravity Falls was also up there in terms of like, there's not a whole lot of like animated kids shows aside from like Gravity Falls, Avatar, Over the Garden Wall that
really cover a lot of adult themes.
yeah, they're just like legitimately good and not
Yeah.
just I always hate when people, like, when you're ragging on a kid's movie, like, oh, it's for kids. Why are you critiquing it? It's like, no, it can still be good.
Yeah.
Like, if anything, like, that's very demeaning to kids.
I know, yeah. It's like kids don't have an opinion on stuff.
Like, oh, we're going to give, you know, the worst of the worst to the kids. We're going to let them watch Trolls 2 or something.
Yeah. Well, like, Iron Giant's a kid's movie, and Iron
Giant's amazing.
An amazing movie.
I love Brad Bird.
Yeah. But, like, have you seen the new Transformers yet?
No.
I feel like you'd like it.
I've only seen the first one.
Michael Bay.
Yeah, 2007.
Oh yeah. The Michael Bay movies are like they kind of hold a place in my heart, but they are also like I can tell when like they're being cheesy and stuff. It's just kind of cool to see the fights and all that. But this one was like it was marketed almost like as a kids movie, and it was not marketed very well. Like the marketing team did a really bad job at like getting it out there.
Again?
Transformers 1.
What?
Yeah. So it's completely animated. There's no humans in it at all. So it's just about Transformers.
Wasn't there a live action one that just came out there?
Rise of the Beasts, that was last year. That one had some humans in it. Actually wasn't that bad. I actually liked that one pretty good. That was like part of the, you know the Bumblebee movie? Mm-hmm. It was like the sequel to that. It was like what Bumblebee does after that. It's got like Optimus Prime, the other Autobots, and it also has the Maximals in it, and like, it's got a bunch of cool stuff.
So Michael Bay isn't doing them anymore?
He actually helped produce this one, but he didn't direct it, or I don't think he touched anything with the story at all.
Okay.
But this one it wasn't marketed very well, but it's like going into it, I didn't really have that high of expectations because like I like Transformers, but I was like I'm not gonna like it's probably just gonna be an animated like movie that's gonna be like kind of cool, you know. And then when it was like started watching it, like it was like I don't know, just like really good, like because it covers the relationship between like Optimus and Megatron before they were enemies, and before Optimus was like technically a prime, he was like just a regular Transformer.
A regular Optimus.
Regular Optimus, yeah. And it was like their relationship and like all that. So it's a really interesting, like, got a really interesting story to it, and like kind of how friends turn into enemies in a way, and like how like basically like the premise is that they start out as these like things called cogless bots. Basically, they don't have the ability to transform, so they're just literally just like robots. They can't transform, and all they do is they go mining within Cybertron for energon. But then they figure out that they get the ability to transform, and then like from Optimus's perspective and Megatron's perspective, they use that power in different ways, which like separates them. It's really good. Like and the voice acting is like really impressive and stuff. And then at the very end is like there's a big fight and stuff, and it's like because this is like the birth of like the Autobots and the Decepticons and stuff. It's really good. I'd highly recommend it.
Also, I didn't watch it, but I've heard that Cyberpunk show
Edgerunners
is supposed to be good too.
Very good.
Okay.
It's really sad, but it's really good. It's because it's like the game. When the game came out, it wasn't very it was really rough state.
I played it for like an hour and I turned it off.
Yeah, it was really rough state, and now it's better. But the show is something else. It's just so good.
It's so surprising. Like it really just comes down to the creative behind it. Like if the people who make the thing care about it, then it will be good.
Yeah.
So like you're so used to, you know, a big movie or a big video game comes out and it's like, oh, we'll make an extra thing on the side to go with it. Like remember back in like the PS2 GameCube era, games made for like movies or TV shows like SpongeBob or anything like that, those were incredibly fun.
Yes.
And they had no right to be. It was just like the people who were making the game
just wanted to make a fun game.
They wanted to make a fun game. And like people still, I never played it, but people love that Simpsons Hit and Run, Simpsons on the Run.
I think I know what you're talking about.
This is some kind of like car-based Simpsons game that people love.
Huh.
And like you'd never expect it because usually those kinds of things suck.
Yeah.
So it's always surprising to like hear like, oh hey, that Cyberpunk show on Netflix is apparently pretty good. Recently watched Scavenger's Reign. Do you know of this?
Is this the one on HBO? Or am I thinking?
It was on HBO. They canceled it, and now it is on Netflix.
Is it animated? I think I know about it.
So it's one season, 10, 12 episodes. They're only like half an hour, but like adult animated. It's about this cargo ship in the future that something goes wrong with it, and escape pods shoot down onto this planet that they're orbiting around. And the show follows the different survivors on the planet as they interact with like the flora and fauna on the planet and how like they're weird and alien.
Yeah. Oh, I've seen that. Like it's like a weird like biomechanical like thing to it.
And pretty good. I don't love it, but I like a lot of what's going on there. Definitely takes influence from like Alien and things like that. But that got canceled on HBO.
HBO's canceled, or Warner Brothers technically has canceled a ton of animated stuff, which is really dumb.
But Netflix picked it up and to stream, and they say that if it does well, they will fund a second season.
That's good to hear.
Rewatching that with Haley as well, but
that's good.
yeah.
Yeah. There's another one I was gonna say. Oh, there's this show that's coming out. Do you know Love, Death, and Robots?
I want to watch that.
Yeah.
Future.
Yes. Really good show.
Black Mirror in space.
Yeah, anthology series basically. Not kid friendly. So
No.
yeah. But the producers and the people that made that behind it, I don't know if it's David Fincher as well, but they're making a show called Secret Level, which is an anthology series about video games.
Really?
So there's like going to be like an episode on Warhammer. They're going to do an episode on like Mega Man, episode on like Pac-Man. I don't know how they're going to do it, but
That's weird.
yeah, they have like a ton of different like really weird like just kind of random video games. They're going to have like I think a whole episode that's just dedicated to like the place or the Sony IPs. So they're going to have like Kratos in there and like I think they're going to have like a Helldivers in there and stuff.
I think after Nintendo finally was like, you know what, Illumination, we're gonna let you make a Mario movie, and it did really well.
Yes.
And now I think Nintendo is more open to that kind of stuff. I think that other companies are also going to be more open to like, you know, if it's made well, then it will do us a service rather than a disservice, because video game movies
And stuff like
And
even
stuff,
shows too for the
have
most
been
part.
crap,
Really
complete crap. Yeah, like for the longest time, the best one that anyone could point to was that Jake Gyllenhaal Prince of Persia movie,
Oh yeah,
and it's like no one even really cared for that one either. But
like it was a fine movie, but it wasn't like a yeah like nothing.
but now you got the Fallout show,
which I've heard is really
on
good.
Amazon. I watched. I didn't finish it, but I got like 3 episodes into that. That was pretty decent. Really, like I said, it just comes down to the creative behind it. If people know what they're doing, they can make something good adapting a video game. It's just people... I think the thing is we're getting into the generation now of the good creatives who exist now are the ones who actually grew up with video games.
Yeah.
Whereas before, like, whoever the heck made that live-action Super Mario Brothers movie with... what's the name? Bob Hopkins or whatever. Did you ever see that live-action Mario movie from the 80s?
Nope.
I never saw it, but I've seen pictures and it looks weird.
No.
It just seemed like no one involved with that movie had any idea what Mario was, and they didn't care.
Yeah.
And so, for a long time, that was kind of the case. And I haven't seen any of the Halo stuff. Not
Don't
good?
don't.
Okay.
I watched like
Still no dice there.
I
huh?
watched like the first. I think I watched like the first couple episodes of the Halo show for the first season, and it was really bad. And then I heard the second season.
In what way? Just like no one cared and
so-
overproduced.
I don't want to get into too much of the Halo like lore.
You don't need to get into the
wise.
lore. Just
but-
what made the show bad?
Well, so like first off, Chiefs takes off his helmet in the first episode, which is kind of like a big deal. Like, I don't know why they couldn't take a book out of. Well, one, they're making it basically the Mandalorian. So there's like this little girl that he has to like.
they're copying
Yeah.
Disney.
So he's like this little girl that he has to like kind of protect, and then immediately the first episode he just goes AWOL from the UNSC because of some stuff. Then there's like this Forerunner MacGuffin that like the Covenant really wants. So then the UNSC is like, I guess we won't let them have it, so we have it now. Most of the Spartans are pretty annoying. There's like a couple that are fine, but they're just kind of annoying to be around. They're completely new characters, but that's not bad. It's the time, from what I heard, the show is just in a different like timeline from the actual games. So it's different characters, different like courses of events. So it's not canon technically.
Sure.
But like, yeah, Chief takes off his helmet in the first episode. He goes AWOL immediately. You don't really know where his motivations are, you know. He never, like, he is rarely in his armor. From, like, Season 2, from what I've heard, which Season 2 is mainly covering the fall of Reach, there's, like, 2 or 3 episodes where he's fighting the Covenant and he's not in his armor. Which is, like, people are like, the fights were cool, but, like, it kind of defeats the purpose, you know. And...
I mean, the elites are, like, what, 8 feet tall?
Yeah, they're 8 feet tall and, like, technically a Spartan is stronger than elite, but like if they're not in their armor, then it's pretty tough.
Yeah.
And
like you play Halo, and like all the Marines are there to help you, and they're just getting like paved over.
Yes, pretty much.
Like, all your friends die in front of you.
Yeah,
while you're just lobbing grenades.
And there's just like a lot of just like little design things. Like they were helping some like insurrectionists that were using like AK-47s, which are like, isn't this in the future? Like it's kind of weird that they're using that.
A timeless gun.
I know, like truly a timeless gun. And then like, and a big one was that there was a human that was in the Covenant, which the Covenant shtick is that they hate humans, they kill humans because of.
They're inclusive.
Yeah, they're literally like, yeah, they have a human that's like on their like that are next to like the prophets that help them, and I'm like, no, the Covenant, they don't do that. They hate the humans. That's their whole thing.
So yeah, it's some people who didn't really understand the source material.
Oh no, literally the writers and stuff literally said we didn't look at the games, we didn't look at the books, we just wanted to make Halo. They said basically they want to make the Halo the way they wanted to. And I'm like. So they just took an IP that is pretty, like, that's got fans coming with it, but they wanted to do their own thing. I'm like, just make your own sci-fi at that point, like your own sci-fi show. But, like, yeah, they didn't look at any of the games or anything for, like, inspiration. Like, Season 2, from what I heard, was a little better. There's some pretty cool fight scenes. But there's just, like, a lot of dumb writing decisions. Like, Captain Keyes stays behind to, like, sacrifice himself to, like, blow up like this thing or keep the Covenant from getting to it when they could just have a different Marine do that and keep like a really like high-ranking like official within the UNSC alive. Like it's just like it doesn't make sense, you know. Like it's just kind of weird. Like it wasn't like a sacrifice that really needed to be had or something, or like I don't know, or other stuff. Like there was some cool stuff. Like I heard the Arbiter in Season 2 was pretty interesting. Not the same character, a different Arbiter, but like.
To be fair, it's probably really hard to adapt an FPS game into a movie. And especially one like Halo, which the games, I wouldn't say they're not story driven, but like most of the meat of a Halo game is just action.
Yes.
And then you have cutscenes.
Like the cutscenes, like, yeah, there's a lot of like story behind there, but like the biggest thing was like, how are you supposed to make Chief into a character? Because like he is a character later on, and like in the games and stuff, he's a little bit more of a character. I mean, like he's barely a character, and like the first game he just says some funny quips and starts blasting things. Second game, there's like a little bit of a relationship with Cortana and stuff, and he starts talking. Third game, he has like 4 words. He says like 4 words in the whole like all of Halo 3. And then like Halo 4 and 5, like he has a little bit more of like a development, which I actually think is pretty good. But like Chief is literally like he's like you play through him. Like it's kind of hard to make a story with that, you know. Which I'm not saying like you can't do a Halo story. I think they could do a really good Halo show. It's just kind of hard, and you have to go about it the right way.
That's why I think it'd be really hard to adapt like Zelda.
Yes,
because Link is what they call a silent protagonist.
Yeah.
And so it's like, are you going to make Link say something? Yeah. If you do, it's going to piss people off. Yeah. If you don't have him say anything, now you're going to make him your main character never talks.
Yeah, which I think you could.
You could, like Mad Max says like 4 words in the Fury Road, you know.
Yeah.
So like you can do that, but you have to really structure everything around that. That takes a lot of creative talent.
Yes. And it also takes people that like the IP, like that like what they're working on.
That's right.
Like I think like if the show was really like covered by like fans of the thing, or even like people that worked on like a lot of storyboards from like the earlier games, they could probably make like a really interesting show. Like make like a kind of like an offshoot. Like they don't have to do something with the Chief, but they could do like something like with Reach or something. They can do a separate like Spartan story or a separate like just human story or something. Like you don't have to like Chief is kind of like cool. It's cool to have Chief on the big screen or something like that. But you can do other you can make new characters as long as they're likable at least. Yeah, but,
You know that the composer for Halo is a conservative?
Really?
Marty O'Donnell.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It was said that when he was working in the Bungie offices, he said that he was the most conservative guy there. Or someone else said that of him, but it's like normal, down-to-earth guy.
He's a really cool dude.
Yeah, great music too.
Yes.
Love the Halo soundtrack.
Yeah, no. But I don't know if you've heard, but so 343, who has been the long time like now
I saw your thing.
successors of
Like,
it. Yeah.
You were never a good.
Yes. Yeah. They are now rebranded into Halo Studios, which I think it's actually good rebranding because I don't like the name. Halo Studios is a little weird. Like, kind of puts you in like one spot really, but they're completely different now. Like almost all the leadership from 343 is gone, and like now they're gonna have like full-time developers on there, and they're not gonna have like contracting developers that will. Because a big issue was they made their own they made their own engine for the game. They didn't use like Unreal or anything.
From 4 on, right?
They used even Halo like 1 through 3, it was called the Blam engine. It was their own engine. But the thing is so it's an engine that people don't really use. So when they had developers come on, they would have to have a certain amount of time to learn it. But once they learned it, then they can start making stuff in there, of course.
Yeah.
But the issue is that Microsoft would do contractors for like Halo Infinite or something. And the Slipstream engine, which is like their new engine, is not one that's used throughout. Like it's only been used on Halo Infinite. So when they contract like developers for like 6 months, well, they got to like spend 4 months to figure out how
learn the engine?
to learn the engine,
Wow.
and then they can start doing stuff. But then they got to leave. So then you get new people that come on that need to learn the engine, and then pick off where the last people came off.
Microsoft is so dumb.
So it's just so dumb. So now they're moving over to the Unreal Engine 5, which I think is a good choice.
Okay.
An engine that most people know how to work with.
Yeah.
And they're also having full-time developers on there now, like people that are going to come on and just work through the whole thing. So I'm pretty hopeful. We haven't seen anything yet though. They haven't made a game or anything. They've just done a couple of tech reviews. But
Does Gears use Unreal Engine?
I think it does. I think it did. I think Epic used the Unreal Engine for most of the games, and now the company that heads it up is called the Coalition, which is kind of like a 343. But
Are they still making Gears?
yeah, they're actually coming out with a new game possibly next year. It's called Gears of War E-Day. It's
Precursor.
What number are they up to now?
so Gears of War 5 came out in like 2019, I think. That was
So it's not like Fast and Furious level yet.
no. So they had the original trilogy that ended with the Locust War and all that, and then the Gears of War 4 was with like Marcus Phoenix's son. And
I don't
like
think
his,
I played anything past 2 or 3.
Yeah, so like it was like his son and his gang, and then like a lot of like the future after the war, and then 5 was like the sequel to that. So there's more stuff going on. There's like a different enemy and so all that. But this new one that they're coming out with is called E-Day, which is a prequel to
The first one?
the first one, yeah, because the first one's like 15 years after E-Day, which is like when the Locusts first emerge and start attacking. This one is going to be when Marcus and Dom are like first becoming friends and like brothers, and all fighting the Locusts and stuff. So I'm pretty optimistic. The trailer looks really good. It's just a cutscene trailer, but it's super sick. And I think they do that in Unreal as well. So
I remember playing co-op with you.
A long time ago.
That was a long time ago, but that was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
then Dad took me all through all the Gears of War. We played them out of order though. It was
Yeah.
kind of weird. We played 3 and then 1 and then 2, but it was pretty good though. I liked it.
It's not the same playing by yourself.
No.
Co-op is the way to go.
It's a really, it's definitely cool.
Because you got somebody to play as Dom. You know?
It's almost built around
Yeah,
it.
and then
Same way with Halo. I think
Yeah.
Halo is way better with
Yeah.
co-op.
Yeah.
Like, especially Halo 3, you're able to play as the Arbiter, and then if you got 4 people, you play the other 2 elites that are just kind of tagging along.
Oh man, I had so much fun doing online 4-player co-op on Halo 3 with some of the guys from the youth group. And I love the customization ability with all the skulls and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Really good stuff. And I mean, 343, say what you will. They were the ones behind the Master Chief Collection, right?
Yes. So,
which I have no issue with. I've only played, maybe 3 or 4 hours of it total, but it seems fine to me.
Yeah, it was at a really rough spot when they first released it, for 10 years ago. I don't know, whenever the Xbox One came out, it wasn't working. It's now up to a point it's working really well, and they've actually there's a lot of people are wanting them just to do one more update to fix some stuff, and then I think it would be just perfect. There's a couple things that they need to tweak, but right now it's really good. I mean, right now I'm replaying. It's so nice to have all the Halo games together, but I replayed Reach on Legendary, which I'd never done. That was really fun, but really hard.
I think I've only played through 2 front to back on Legendary.
2? Yeah, I've heard that's the hardest. I've heard.
There's others that I've started, but I think 2 is the only one that I did all the way through.
So yeah, I played Reach on Legendary, and then I played ODST because I went on I'll just do the side stories. Did ODST on Heroic, which actually was a lot easier than I was expecting.
Some of the best soundtrack in ODST.
Yes.
Too.
Oh,
he went jazzy.
The jazz. Oh, it's so good. Anytime it rains, I always think of that. And this, even the ODST story is really good. It's really down to earth. You're literally located in one city. You're not going on all over the place in the other Halos. And then now I'm about halfway through Halo 1 on Legendary. It's not as hard as Reach.
Halo 1 is not. They really ramped up the difficulty after.
Yes. 1. Yeah. It's pretty hard on Halo 1. I'm playing on the original graphics, not the new ones, because I just wanted to see how it was. It's actually pretty fun. But I'm about halfway through it. It's really good. It's really hard.
It's so weird in Halo 1 where you're holding the pistol right in the middle of your body.
Yeah.
Or it's harder because of the mechanics in the way, because it's an old game. So I'm I need to switch my pistol real quick to headshot this elite, but I'm doing it it goes through this whole animation every time you switch it. I'm I just need to shoot him, I'm gonna die.
And then in the back of your head you're thinking of oh, I need to use my ability, oh no wait, hold on, that's from Reach.
Yeah. It's wait, hold on, I can't sprint. Oh, but there's still health back, so I'm I'm at 1 health. So if my shields get down, I'm literally dead. I can't. Yeah. And on Legendary, even on Reach, shields didn't mean a thing. Shields would just go down an instant.
Yeah, you get shot once and then so you're blinking.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is because plasma weapons are meant, that's the sandboxes, they're meant to take down shields, and then the weapons with bullets and stuff are for health.
Plasma pistol battle rifle, dude.
Pretty much. Yeah. That's what I'm doing on CE. You don't obviously have the battle rifle, but you got the Magnum though. So I'm just I'm literally charging it. I'm charging it up around corners. There's a leak, and I just shoot them real quick, and then the grunts just all freak out, so I just shoot them. It's really easy, but it's pretty tough though, especially the hunters. Oh my goodness, they're so tough. But
I miss the days of LAN parties.
Yeah.
And you can't really bring that back, can you?
I don't think so.
The last LAN party I went to was at Isaiah Ward's birthday party. It was several years ago at the church, and it was his birthday, and it was a Fortnite party. It was when Fortnite was really big still. And I was okay, I'll go. It was actually really fun. We were all playing
when
together.
you're all in the same room,
it makes it so much.
It doesn't matter if you win or you lose. It's just there's so much energy.
Pizzas and sodas and
16 players per game.
Yeah. Let's load some Firefighter. Let's do some custom games. You know,
it's so great.
Yeah.
And then having some people with the modded Xboxes in moderation.
Right.
But that was also pretty good. Man, it's crazy going to Monument View now. David Ward's still doing Awana. This is their last year leading, though. They're passing the torch to second in command.
It's got to be,
I think it's 26,
years.
27 years. Yeah.
Because we did it for 10 years, and they had been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
And then now we've been gone for 8 or 9 years. Oh, sheesh.
Yeah.
Is this still a pretty big club? They had
Seems like it.
They had the biggest club in the valley
Yeah.
for
I mean,
the 10 years we were in there.
I'm not there when we drop the kids off. I'm there when we pick them up, and they still seem to have a decent amount. So, yeah.
Oliver's been going to Bookcliff
Yeah.
Baptist over here with Finley and Torin.
Yeah.
So they like to come over on Sunday afternoons, and they'll go to Awana, and it's like 12 kids.
Really?
So they get like all this one-on-one attention, and
Wow.
they love it. They think it's great. It's so funny. Just a bunch of old people that put it on for the kids.
Wow.
It's funny.
It's crazy.
It's very simple.
Yeah.
They did a Grand Prix, and they had to change up all the rules because they didn't have a whole lot of kids. So I think it was all one giant open class.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they had a old wood track and
Nice. I like that.
didn't have like the really high-end laser timers like David Ward had. You know, like down to like 0.2 of a second or whatever. So
It's good stuff. It's so weird to be on the other end of it now,
Yeah.
where like I first started, it wasn't TNT yet. It was the like pioneers and whatever else. The
Yeah.
other it was like boys and girls or however they divided that up. But I had like the scarf and everything. Wore that for 1 year, and then they changed it over and had to get the new thing.
yeah,
But
that's funny.
yeah, and memorizing the verses. I remember going through JV, and like my motivation to memorize the verses just like every year. Just like I don't know, like the way that the units were like written. Like as a teenager, I'm just like I feel a little too old for this in some ways. But with the younger kids, like teaching, like having them learn their verses and
Yeah.
all that, and
Yeah.
they come back and they got jewels and everything. It's like, well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
You know, on the parent side of things.
They're towards the end. They really changed up. We call it Trek now or something.
Yeah, well, it's the JV thing.
Yeah, but they changed it quite a bit. I think the last 2 or 3 years, Andrew and I were doing it to the point we had to actually go back and do new training, and it was disconjointed. It just the stuff didn't fit together, and we never got actual clarity. So some of the materials we didn't use at all because we weren't actually sure what they were supposed to be used for. It was just odd. Kids, there's like videos we'd watch, and they were kind of weird and corny, and oftentimes had nothing to do with the lesson.
Really?
Like, why are we even watching these? But you're supposed to like tee it up with the video, and I'm like, do we have the right videos? And we did because we checked. You know, the kids weren't really digging it, so I think there towards the end we actually just kind of like
The doubt.
started doing our own thing. And we definitely lost kind of our motivation there at the end.
Yeah, I'm not super into the, I don't know if you'd say the content. Like I like that they're memorizing verses. Like I remember, like those are some of the first times I actually memorized important verses from like Romans and Ephesians
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like the heavy hitter stuff from Romans and the Gospels and
And if you can memorize those when you're a kid, I mean, that stuff will stick with you.
yeah. Romans 3:23, Romans 6:23.
Yeah.
But I like the thing that I really liked about it was that excitement of like showing up there with your friends and the games and like always having the different like themed nights,
Yeah.
like, oh, ice cream night, crazy hat night,
Yeah.
things like that, and memorizing the verses, and then like at the very end, like everyone getting like their names called out for like, oh, this person did this and they did
Right.
this. You get to run up, and that's how Javier was born.
Yep.
Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy to think that Javen attended Awana. It's like an eternity ago. You
That
know?
was so long ago.
But
Yeah.
yeah, that's been nice. I mean, it cuts into our schedule a little bit because we have to ferry them out there and then
Right.
like barely an hour later go back
Then
out.
you got time to kill, and then you have to go get them again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it is what it is. But
When Riley and
we're
Nora,
enjoying it.
Riley and Nora, when they were doing youth group and we drop them off, we turned that into our date night. And that actually worked pretty good. Oliver was little, so we had to do that.
We would do that, but
Take 'em
Violet
with us.
doesn't go yet. She's not old enough.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So she stays home and watches a movie.
Yeah.
So what are you guys gonna be for Halloween?
I'm gonna be a tired dad.
Nice.
Easy costume.
Yeah.
One of the kids is gonna be Moana. She took him to the used kids clothing store. They apparently have like a bunch of cheap costumes.
That's cool.
That's good to know.
Yeah, so we were thinking of doing like a group costume, like maybe Avatar or like the Incredibles or something, because we'd actually match up pretty good for the Incredibles. Because like Felicity can be Violet, Owen can be Dash, and then we were thinking Henry could be Jack, and then Violet could be Edna,
That'd be funny.
the one who makes the costumes.
Yeah. That'd be funny.
It's like, that's a lot of work. And so Haley had mentioned that they had the used costumes, like just go let them like scan and take whatever they want.
Yeah.
And so I think Felicity or Violet's going to be Moana. I don't remember what Owen is. Maybe just Spider-Man or something, or Pikachu. I can't remember.
Both.
Felicity's going to be Anna from Frozen, the sister, and Violet's going to be Moana, and then whatever Owen's going to be. Haley's going to be Toast, because she found an avocado costume for Henry.
Yeah.
So she's going to carry him around as an
Aw.
avocado while she wears like a poster board cutout of Toast.
Yeah. Nice.
So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go with some Momco friends, I believe. But that's our plan. What are you guys going to do?
I think we're gonna head over to Ryan and Melinda's, and then walk from their house over to Heritage Heights, which is right there on.
Is that where we had gone last year?
Yes.
It's a pretty good neighborhood.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah. Yeah, if it's good weather, a lot of people will be out in their driveways with little, fire pits going, and so it's fun.
There's going to be a lot of skeletons in driveways, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
People are going skeleton crazy this year.
Yes.
I
weird.
don't know how to feel about it. I think it's kind of funny, but it's funny to like sit back and watch it happen, because like everyone and their uncle has one of those 12-foot skeletons.
12-foot skeletons.
I saw one, over by your guys' house. Like that, when you guys like kind of closest neighbors to have
Yeah,
one.
they've had it for a year or two now. They're always putting it up in the backyard.
I mean, if you got it, why not put it up?
I just wonder what you do with it when you're done with it.
Exactly. Just sits in your shed or your garage, or
Taking up a bunch of room. I don't know.
it's really big.
I mean, with our Christmas and Halloween decorations, like it takes up half. So, which you've seen, it's above our car stalls, and it takes up half of that storage space up there.
Yeah.
All the boxes and all the stuff. It's like, dang.
It's a full-on Griswold thing.
It is.
Yeah.
Oliver keeps asking for like more stuff. I'm like, dude, I don't know where to put it. We need more Halloween stuff in the front yard. I'm
You can put it in his room.
like, right.
Yeah. What time is it?
8:20.
27.
Am I right?
Yeah.
About 7 minutes off.
Question is, do I fire up another one?
It's entirely up to you.
If you do, I do.
You guys still good to go for a little longer?
I am. I've got something to read if you guys are up for it.
Yeah, I saw you
Yeah.
bringing out a contract for me to sign. Non-disclosure agreement.
Extend our triple S contract for another year.
That when we do make it big, you get 50%.
Right. I am going to renegotiate my salary. Want some royalties.
Which, I mean, it's not really even about the subscribers, but about the views.
Right.
Because, like, my channel has 13,000.
Well,
But I only make, you have to get over $100 in ad revenue before they let you pay out.
oh,
And there for a while I was getting it like that like every other month.
Okay.
I get like 120 to 150 bucks every other month.
yeah.
But since I've kind of slowed down how much I post, that's kind of slowed down too. So now I'm only getting a payout every like 3 or 4 months.
Gotcha.
So it's like I have a bunch of subscribers, but it's
Yeah.
about how many people view my videos. And it's also dependent on, that is dependent on the kind of videos you're making. So like me doing music related stuff doesn't get as many views as, even like vlogs, political stuff.
Yeah.
And also, there's a thing called, I don't remember what it's called. Basically depending on what type of video you make and what it's about, YouTube in the analytics will show you kind of how much your video is worth.
That's interesting. Just based on what they know from other videos and
Basically what they're willing to pay you. It depends on what's in your video, style of video, genre, content, all that, length, because that determines who they're going to try to push that in the algorithm toward for recommended, and what type of advertising they will have on it. And so like some videos that I do are worth more than others. And like it shows up in like a dollar amount.
Yeah.
So like I have some videos that have, I don't know, let's say like $2 basically. And I think that's kind of like an average of like per month or like per however many views or clicks or ad plays or something. And I have some that are upwards of like 10, 15 bucks. So some videos are worth more than others.
Yeah.
And that's also a factor. So if you can make videos that are high value, you smoke cuties? Let's go right on in there.
he smells something. Alphenschmerz, what are you doing?
Oh yeah.
He's like halfway in your backpack.
Oh my goodness.
There's nothing in there.
Anything
Well,
that's
not
like,
anymore.
anything that he can get into.
He traffics in evil, so
Oh, okay.
yeah.
I mean, we have some evil at home, so if you want to bring some more, I guess it's okay. We have the weird ghost that puts goop on our walls, apparently.
So weird.
I don't know what that's all about.
Alfie,
But
what you doing, bud?
yeah, I don't know enough about the YouTube secret sauce to know about all that. But the people who do that, do it for a living, like the Rhett and Links and everything, they know how to really Mr. Beast.
Yep.
They follow the trends and they know exactly what to look for and
Right.
what type of videos to make. And I'm just like, I'm doing it because I love it and not because I want the views or the money. So I just get whatever I can take. This kind of content, I have no idea. Like I'd have to get this side channel up to 1,000 subscribers before I can monetize it.
It's a lot.
Plus a certain amount of, it's at like 300-400,
Uh-huh.
so it's not bad.
Oh.
But it's not really growing fast either. And then you have to have a certain amount of like watch time,
Yeah.
which I think I've reached. I'm pretty sure. So subscribers and watch time, and then you can monetize. But I have no idea what these videos will be worth because they are a different genre than what I typically make. So
Right.
I have no idea.
Definitely more long form.
Which is, I mean, like that's more opportunities for ads. You can play
Right.
mid-roll ads.
True.
But like we're saying controversial things.
Yep.
That also affects stuff.
Right.
Okay, so I'm doing the black label.
I did the red label. I did the black label last time. Probably want another one. Or
Sorry.
He's playing.
I'm playing some games on my phone right now. I'm not doing very well.
No.
I like these ones. The Edge. They're pretty good.
I'm gonna feel really bad smoking this one, and I'm gonna be like, I like it just as much as the $50. How much are these?
12?
12.
Yeah.
Okay. Probably about as high as I would go if I would spend one for myself. I would spend that for myself.
Yeah. I like it. It's different. Seems like a lot of cigars are just kind of the same thing, but there's just like nothing on the box. Doesn't even tell you like the wrapper, the filler, nothing.
That's really bizarre.
Yeah. Just show, like it
That's
says
not-
the size. I mean the inside label on the box, like it looks really nice. The box looks nice. You can kind of tell they put in some effort into the quality of the box at least. And the label is really nice on the cigar, and Yeah, all of a sudden they just showed up. There's like 4 different boxes on their shelf. I'm like, oh.
It's what's on the inside that counts, though, right?
I mean, he called, Tampa Cigar City.
Hmm.
They're really known for their cigars. And I brought some of those back, from that little bait and tackle shop.
Which-
Remember those?
Those were fantastic.
For a no-label, old lady wraps them for the owner, and like, the story's cool enough in itself, and the cigar is decent. It's been a while since I've had one, so when I go back, I'm gonna go smoke one again and just kind of compare it to everything I've smoked since. And
I remember it being very fresh.
yeah, agreed.
Felt very.
Recently made. I think
Yeah.
she hand makes them to order as needed.
Oh.
So they're probably wrapped within a week or so.
This is interesting. You're right, it is a little bit different.
It's different, isn't it?
Yeah.
It'd be nice to know what the tobacco is and why it's different, but I couldn't tell you. I'm sure you can probably look up their website and probably read more about them.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I like that. I like spice.
And about halfway through it, seems like it kind of jumps up to another level too. Which is, yeah, like mine, I usually wouldn't smoke, cheaper cigar that far down, but there's some that kind of get better as you smoke, and others that get worse as you smoke.
Yeah. So what's this thing that you got?
So, I subscribe to Dr. Kranawitter's Substack.
Okay.
So he's a PhD political science guy. He's a college professor and speaks at Leadership Program of the Rockies course.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he speaks 3 or 4 different times. He has a whole, the first class, he does a lecture called something like the problem with or the trouble with slavery. And it's like, oh, that's going to be interesting. What is he going to talk about? Of course, really interesting. And he's a very animated lecturer. So he's usually wearing a sports coat with a vest on, and then he's moving around a lot. He gets hot, takes the sports coat off, lays that over a chair, and then at some point he rolls the sleeves up, and it's all by design.
Yeah.
Because that all non-verbally communicates, his intensity as he's lecturing. He has a really big blackboard.
Nice.
I think it folds out and they mount it, and he uses chalk, which is excellent.
Yeah.
I love that. And so now he has a Substack, and so this one just actually came out this afternoon, printed it off right before I left the office, called The Deathly Hollows of Halloween.
Okay.
So,
Have you read it?
I skimmed through it before
Okay.
I brought it home, just to see if it actually be worth reading. So he's a political science guy, but he's also studied all the philosophers and Aristotle and Socrates and all of that. He's written a couple books. He wrote a book called Vindicating Lincoln, which I've read. That's a great book. Then he wrote another book called Save the Swamp. It's satire. We really need to save the swamp because it's just so amazing. All these bureaucrats just love it. We have 10,000 bureaucrats running our country for us right now. Nothing wrong with that
No.
at all. Unelected, just
That was another funny thing on the Trump episode on Rogan. Him talking about whatever unnamed congressman he had brought up, being it just doesn't do anything. I had brought it to him and he just never did it.
Yep.
Yep. There's there to exist, I guess.
Yeah. And I think he learned a lot from his first administration because he's not a DC guy, so
No.
he was taking recommendations from others. Oh, you really need so-and-so for Secretary of State, you need so-and-so for whatever. And not that they need to be loyal to him, like people say, oh, he wants generals that are loyal to him like Hitler, but it's you kind of need to be loyal to the administration and their philosophy of governance and what they're wanting to accomplish, and you get people in there that are working behind your back all the time and undermining you.
And
Yeah, it's hard to get stuff done.
He's a businessman who wants to get stuff done,
Yeah.
and he realized, oh, no one here wants to do anything.
No. Yeah, the incentive structure is all backwards. And I've said that for a long time, especially with like municipal government. It's like, you've got city manager that they're incentivized to grow the budget every year, to grow government every year, have a lot of pet projects, and beef up their resume with all the new government programs that they cranked out, rec centers and all the stuff. And it's like, how can you change that incentive structure to where they're not just going to try to stay around forever and just continue to grow things so it looks good on their resume? It's like you should incentivize and give them a bonus if they actually shrink government, make it more efficient, right? That'd be nice.
Yeah.
But the incentive structure is backwards for all of that. So I think that's the problem with bureaucracies is, once you create a new department of whatever, that thing's never going to go away and it's only going to get bigger. Like Department of Education on the federal level, what the hell do they do all day long? Those thousands of employees, what do they do all day long? I don't know.
I don't know.
Nothing for our schools. Yeah. So, anyway,
Yeah.
soapbox. The
Oh, good.
Deathly Hollows of Halloween. It is no coincidence that, I want to make sure I pronounce this right. Hold on.
What's the word?
Samhain. It's the Celtic word for Halloween, and you pronounce it Samhain,
Sawin.
but it's
Okay.
Samhain.
Okay.
So it's the Celtic holy day of Samhain.
Okay.
So that's the history of Halloween. So it's no coincidence that Samhain, the precursor to Halloween, occurred in late fall after the harvest was complete, just before the onset of bitter winter cold. The subject of this essay is Halloween and the origins of the peculiar and ancient holiday many Americans will celebrate tomorrow. In a few weeks, I will publish a commentary on Lincoln's brief remarks at the Gettysburg Cemetery, the anniversary of which is November 19th. At first glance, Halloween and the Gettysburg Address seem wholly unrelated to each other, yet there is something important that connects them: the dead. So, changing seasons. It's no secret that most of what we today consider holidays are modern co-ops and transformations of ancient pagan festivals and sacrificial rituals, all of which were holy days of one kind or another. These ancient practices often focused on two phenomena that dominated life in every ancient regime: the endless cyclical changing of the seasons from spring to summer to fall to winter, and the ancestral dead. I suggested above that even though Halloween and the Gettysburg Address seem unrelated, they are. So too, from the ancient point of view, the seasons and the dead, which might appear disconnected to us, were seen by ancient people as parts of an indissoluble whole intrinsically tied to each other. The seasons, which are now considered to be natural, mere functions of the Earth orbiting the Sun, were viewed back then more as the work of often nefarious ghosts, spirits, little g gods, or other supernatural beings. Ancient peoples understood that spring had always followed winter, but there was a lingering doubt whether this time the icy grip of winter might remain.
Game of Thrones.
As the sun sank lower on the horizon toward winter, would it disappear forever? Or would it return to a high place in the sky, reinvigorating life and making the world green again? No one knew for sure. That's why it was made That's why it made sense to offer sacrifices and gifts to the gods, spirits, and ghosts as insurance policies, perhaps even bribes, to ensure the return of spring and then summer. Strange as it may sound to us today, nature, though it surrounds us and we are part of it, had to be discovered and explored. So he talks about, Aristotle talks about nature and nature's God, right? The immovable mover. And Cranwitter kind of adopts from some of those philosophies as well. There was a time when the concept of nature was unknown to human minds. For a thinker such as Aristotle, the endeavor to understand what nature is and to know the natures of various things was the original purpose of what they called philosophy. The philosophical quest for knowledge and the study of nature, for the Greeks, were seen as two sides of the same coin, united and inseparable. Aristotle, along with his teacher Plato and Plato's teacher Socrates, were deeply interested in understanding that which is natural, contrasting it with what is conventional or made by human invention and craftsmanship. The insightful scholar Jacob Klein once gave a lecture and later published an essay titled On the Nature of Nature, in which he described the discovery of nature as one of the greatest human discoveries ever. What we now call Halloween originated as the Celtic holy day of Samhain. Some Christians refer to it as All Hallows Eve, which precedes All Saints' Day. It is no coincidence that Samhain, the precursor to Halloween, occurred in late fall after the harvest was complete, just before the onset of bitter winter cold. Ancient pagans believed that the spirit of death was particularly active at this time, roaming the earth in search of prey as they witnessed the vegetation wilting and dying before their eyes. Of course, the spirit of death was close at hand. If the spirit of death was nearby, they reasoned, then the spirits of those whom death had already claimed might also be close. What was uncertain was whether those spirits had good or ill intentions. To avoid being marked for early death, many ancient pagans dressed as if they were already among the dead, hence the origin of the dressing in costumes as ghosts and other spirits of those who were once alive.
Day of the Dead and all that.
Yep. The best account I know of regarding the central importance of the ancestral dead for every ancient regime is some name I can't pronounce's beautiful little book, The Ancient City, first published in 1864. To appease the ghosts and spirits, including the spirit of death itself, many ancient people would leave offerings, gifts, and sacrifices such as food or slaughtered animals. Unsurprisingly, death typically accepted these offerings, evidenced by the decay of the food and dead animals left as gifts in the days that followed. Smoke from the burnt animal sacrifices rose up to the heavens, while the unburned food gifts soon deteriorated into nothing. This practice laid the groundwork for offering treats on that night that would later become known as Halloween. Before we mock the rituals of ancient peoples, consider their remarkable and frequent successes. Through ritualistic sacrifices every fall, such as Samhain, and more during the winter, many of which contributed to later Christian practices such as decorating evergreen trees for Christmas, the spirit of death was indeed appeased. Spring eventually returned, and with it the sun. The return of vegetation in the spring meant the spirit of life had returned, and the ancients rejoiced with celebrations including signs of new life, such as baby bunnies and fuzzy little chicks, as well as fertility rituals to ensure the perpetuation of one's own city, tribe, or clan. And so the seasons revolved round and round, over and over, like a wheel in endless motion, just as the regular human rituals were practiced over and over for centuries that eventually blurred into millennia. The only hope of escaping this seemingly endless pattern was the idea of a savior who might offer a way to avoid death, eternal life. And indeed, many people in the West thought such a savior had finally come with the humble events that began in Bethlehem and concluded with the blood-drenched tragic trauma at Golgotha, otherwise known as Calvary. And henceforth, Christianity transformed and repurposed many ancient pagan rituals, including Samhain, the ancient predecessor to All Hallows Eve, making the night before All Saints' Day, and then Halloween. Still, the concern for the ancestral dead, one's own predecessors who lived and died, and what they mean for the living, is an ancient theme that remains with us. Graveyards are still important to many beyond graveyards because graveyards represent special hallowed ground that is a bridge of sorts connecting the living and the dead. And as we will discuss in a few weeks, the theme of the ancestral dead is the framework of one of the most unforgettable of all speeches, Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. So, just thought it was kind of interesting, a little bit of back history, and him kind of trying to tie some pagan beliefs and rituals and just what we can observe in nature, how that can kind of creep into religion and your faith, and I don't know where he stands on Christianity and all of that, but I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah, that's cool. A lot of people like to rail against Halloween and Christmas as being anti-Christian, and it's just it's really not true in a
Don't.
lot of ways. I mean, you can get
Semi like dark holiday.
yeah, like I feel like I'd probably draw the line at like dressing in like excessively grisly stuff, because that just seems kind of unnecessary and it doesn't make sense as a Christian to do that per se.
Right.
But like, I don't see any harm in dressing up as Moana and going and getting a Kit Kat.
Heard a comedian recently make that same point. He's like, so there's this God of the Bible that just like parted the Red Sea and defeated evil and created the whole universe and all of this, but like, man, I don't know if he can take on like your 3-year-old in a Moana costume asking for candy. Like, I don't know. It's a heavy lift for God. It's kind of like pointing out how kind of silly it is to like, as a Christian, like rail against that. Now, granted, like you don't need to be out doing seances and witchcraft and all that kind of stuff.
I would recommend steering clear of Ouija boards.
Yes.
Even if you think it's absurd and silly, you're flirting with some stuff there.
Yeah, some of the Blurry Creature episodes I've listened to where people mess around with those and then stuff starts happening. It's like, no thanks.
Yeah, because it's all about like your intention, right? Like,
Yep.
the whole thing is like we're trying to communicate with the dead or with spirits, and it's like
Right.
if that's what you're going to try to do, you're going to be flirting with some danger there.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah, we're definitely advised against trying to commune with the dead, which I think is actually possible.
You think so?
I do. Which is a creepy thought. How? I don't know how that works.
That gets into the whole like those who are dead, either in Christ or not in Christ. What is the state of their current being? Because it's like, we have two sets of grandparents that are deceased. It's like, where are their souls now? What?
Right.
I mean, where? But it's like, what's going on with them? I have no idea. The Bible is a little vague.
Right.
I mean, it does use, the phrasing of like being asleep in Christ.
Mm-hmm.
So there is that aspect of it, but it doesn't go much farther than that. At least not from what I've read. So
Yeah, I don't think there's any, other than Christ, I don't think there's any flesh and blood in heaven or paradise or that realm.
yeah, I agree.
But Paul says, to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. So, and then the bodies will be resurrected in the end.
They'll be resurrected first.
Yeah. So, if you are communing with the dead, who are you talking to?
Yeah.
Some people would be like, that's one of my issues with Christianity. It's like, we just love to oversimplify things. And anything that we don't understand, the supernatural realm, is just a demon. Well, most people don't even understand what a demon actually is. Oh, it's just a fallen angel. It's like, well, it's not really exactly
It's the
right.
same thing with angel, right? Like the very blanket.
Yeah.
People use it as a very blanket term.
Right.
It's like, oh, those are the supernatural people that help God.
Yeah.
I think that's about as far as they thought of it.
Remember growing up, people telling me that, like, oh yeah, based on the human population and how many angels there probably were, like every human probably has at least 3 guardian angels. There's like zero biblical basis for that.
What?
And even the term angel just means messenger. So there are some supernatural beings that carry messages, like the ones that came to the shepherds to speak about, the coming of Christ. They were messengers, but then there's also others that are like pretty obviously warriors. Archangel Michael and Gabriel.
Yeah.
And
Thrones, powers.
they're not like hanging out with you all day, protecting you from like a car accident or something. I really doubt that that's what Michael's doing or Gabriel.
Yeah.
And the demons, I follow Michael Heiser's theory on that they're actually the spirits of the deceased Nephilim, and they really want to be back in a body, which that's a creepy thought. Have you watched Nefarious yet?
No, I haven't.
It's worth watching.
Yeah. Kind of connected to that,
Yeah.
but also pulling back a little bit about people Christians getting all uppity about Halloween, not knowing why. They're probably voting for Kamala too. They don't know why. When it comes to like horror and all that, like I take very seriously the passage in Philippians of Paul saying like whatever is beautiful, pure, etc. Think of these things.
Yeah.
I think people try to turn that into something that it's not a little bit, because I find horror, and I'm not including like slasher, splatter, gory, excessive, sadistic horror.
The Saw Part 12
in this kind of thing, where it's just like darkness for the sake of darkness. I'm not advocating for that at all. I think that horror can be incredibly powerful because it really highlights good and evil.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, as a Christian, I love The Exorcist.
Mm-hmm.
Connecting to what you're talking about now, like that is, I mean, obviously it's a fictional movie that's dramatic, but like that's real stuff.
Yep.
That people have to grapple with, and like you hear stories from like Catholic priests about like exorcisms.
Yep.
And you're like, whoa.
Yeah, they've had a couple on Blurry podcast, and yeah, you listen to their stories. It's like, man, like I think Christians need to know that and understand that. Again, be careful what you're messing with, but
It's the world we live in.
there's plenty of Christians that actually don't believe in a Satan. They don't believe in anything supernatural or spiritual, and I don't know what they think God is or what the Bible's talking about when it talks about all that stuff. But I think it's just, I think sometimes when you don't know how to compartmentalize something, you just want to kind of pretend it away.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, Paul says we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but principalities and powers. And people get principalities wrong too. They think a principality is a person or a being. A principality is a location. It's a place. It's like a city. And I think there are supernatural principalities. You know, like ancient Babylon, I think was a principality governed by a little g god. You know, think about Moloch and Baal and all of those. I think there were little g gods that wanted to be worshipped to the point they wanted you to sacrifice your child to them.
Yeah. And I mean,
Crazy.
I think it is very hard to explain away the fact that there are definitely locations that are more supernaturally charged than others.
Yep.
For sure.
Yep.
And we use the word principality in that context outside of the supernatural anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes complete sense to me.
Yep.
But I don't know. I find it very valuable, not because I like to flirt with darkness. I find it very interesting and fascinating, more so because I myself am a sinner, and so like I grapple with good and bad every single day.
Yeah.
It's within me.
Right.
And so to, like, as much as I want to explore the goodness of God, I also want to better understand the darkness that is within me.
Yeah.
And where it comes from, how it exists in the world.
Yeah.
And I don't quite know how to quantify it, but there's something about like when you're reading a good horror book or watching a good movie and you just have those moments of like the chills and you're just like, ooh,
Yeah.
that's scary.
Yep.
But like in a good way,
Yeah.
I don't know how to quantify that.
Like it's a reasonable fear, you know. It's like I don't know. It's like you understand like this is something that's probably real, but like I think it's like a natural like fear.
But I also feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing.
Well, that you understand it, you know.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
I'm not like, ooh, that thing is gonna get me.
Right.
I'm like, what is that?
Yeah.
It's like how like I spend all my time, like so much of my time trying to understand the goodness of God and His nature, and then I see something that is that dark and evil. And I'm like, what is that all about?
Right.
Like I don't want any part of that,
Yeah.
but I want to understand it.
Yeah.
And that's what I find so fascinating about horror.
Yeah.
And I think it's incredibly valuable. And some of the best horror, honestly, is like just about the human condition
Yeah.
and what people are able to do to each other and the things that we wrestle with.
Yeah.
Good, like psychological horror kind of stuff. But like you watch The Sixth Sense,
Right.
and it's like that's relatively like tame compared to other kinds of horror, but like that's very like reflective and introspective kind of stuff about like what do people want and what do we desire and our emotions and motivations and all that kind of stuff. And I just find it very fascinating, and I kind of, I mean, I get it if it makes you uncomfortable, but like, I don't know, I just find it so fascinating, and it makes the world so much, it makes, I don't want to say it makes the world so much richer, but there's just so much to learn and understand, and like being able to like look it in the face and be like, I want to know what you are, so that I can know like how to avoid it, and
how to fight it in a way.
Yeah, in a way, it almost helps me to understand God better, because I'm able to see like, oh, so that's what that is.
Yeah.
It's like the inverse of that.
Right. Yeah, you pull the dark things into the light and reveal them. And,
Right. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's back to the Nefarious movie. Even them trying to produce that movie, all the crazy stuff that was happening to the cast and the director. I mean, even the site that they were at, which is this old abandoned prison that's supposedly haunted, and some of the weird stuff that was happening there while they were trying to film. I mean, basically, the enemy did not want that film to come out. And the guy that played the inmate that was possessed did a phenomenal job, almost too good of a job.
I've seen a couple clips of it. Yeah.
And it was very interesting. You know, I think every Christian should watch it. I mean, some people just probably can't. You know, they just can't handle that stuff. But you know, it's a horror movie for sure. But just him as the, you know, as the possessed person, you know, talking about, you know, we've been here a long time and we've seen a lot of things, you know, millennia of kings rising and falling, and it's just interesting to think about that, all the things that these supernatural beings have seen and experienced and that they know. I don't know, it's just, I think it's important for Christians to know that and understand that, because I mean, I think there might be a point where the veil's going to be lifted on some of that stuff, and people could potentially really freak out.
Yeah.
I just don't understand the Christian motivation to not want to understand even just general supernatural things. You know, again, you start talking about
Even like godly stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. Yeah. Even that kind of weirds some Christians out. It's like, I mean, we are spiritual beings having an earthly human experience. It's like you think you would want to understand that aspect of you and your world a little bit better, but it freaks some people out.
And I mean, obviously there's so many factors to that: nature, nurture, the lives that different people have led,
Yeah.
their upbringing, and all kinds of stuff like that. But I mean, we gotta kind of transcend that as best we can.
Mm-hmm.
I would say.
So, what's your guys' favorite Halloween monster?
Halloween monster?
Yeah, like
Little tiny goblin.
oh, just a little guy.
There's so cute.
My favorite is Headless Horseman or the Invisible Man.
Oh man, Sleepy Hollow.
Headless Horseman's so good.
So Disney, during Halloween,
You did the Haunted Mansion.
it was super cool. They updated it. I mean, they always change it to Nightmare Before Christmas for the month of October, pretty much through Christmas, which is always super cool. It was huge lines. This year, they had just opened it back up, and the only way to see it is to get in the virtual queue. So you have to download the app and then sign up for the virtual queue. So it's like 50 to 70 people at a time. And that was kind of confusing. They could have done a better job of that, but tons of people are in line. And then, of course, they've got Disney cast members like walking up and down. Hey, you guys in the virtual line? No, we're in the standby. There's no standby. It's just virtual.
That's strange.
Queue. Isn't that weird? But it's not like a fast pass. It's just a virtual queue. So anyway, got in the virtual queue, did the ride. They added probably twice as many ride seats.
Oh, interesting.
You know, the big domed back
Yeah.
with the bar that comes down. Probably twice as many. You could tell they were like brand new seats when we got in there. So I think they've really increased their capacity. And
the ride
then
different at all?
when you go through the first part where you look down into like the living room and the kitchen area with the dancing ghosts and all that, that's all changed and different.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. So it'd be interesting to see what's like when it's not Nightmare Before Christmas.
Do they just do the regular Haunted Mansion, or is it like do they close it down for the rest of the time?
So it's Haunted Mansion all year,
That's what I thought.
Halloween through Christmas, it's Nightmare Before Christmas.
That makes sense.
But otherwise, it's just the regular Haunted Mansion. And I follow a guy on Instagram that he's converted an entire room in his house to Haunted Mansion, and he's figured out how to reproduce, like, the guy that has, like, his face goes from here into the lantern and then back again.
That is super
He's
cool.
figured out how to make that just from scratch.
Nice.
It's, like, super cool. I mean, just, a hobby. It's not going to accomplish anything, but it's fun to watch.
A lot of that is like mirrors, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. With little projectors and
You can even make the statues that follow you as you're walking, because it's like concave in a
Yeah.
way. It's super cool. I like that.
Gosh, you know that concave like little dragon thing that you can make out of paper?
Yes, and it looks like it's looking at you, but it's
Yeah, I made that when I was younger, and man, that freaked me out.
Really?
Yeah.
it's weird. Yeah,
It's like literally just a little
it's a little illusion.
printout thing, and you just like, you fold it up and tape it, but the dragon's head is concave, and so when you're looking at it, it just looks like it's following you, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't like that at
Yeah.
all.
It's creepy, but
All the engineering that they do at Disney is next level, man.
Impressive.
So cool. Yeah, I only went on Haunted Mansion once, and it was the first time we went because it was closed for this refurbishment this year when we went. But just like looking down and like watching all of the things dancing, and you're like, what? What? How?
and they did that decades ago.
Yeah. Yeah, wild stuff. Unfortunately, never got to see Tower of Terror.
I thought it was super cool. I
We
mean,
went on that like once. and-
Guardians of the Galaxy, it definitely takes it up a notch. There's this whole, storyline there.
Do they still do Tower of Terror technically at Disney World, or because they had Tower of Terror in
They might.
Adventure Park, and then
They
they changed
might.
it to Guardians of the Galaxy when they did the Marvel deal
Yeah.
and stuff. But I remember going on it at Disney World.
Right.
That was probably before the Marvel stuff. I don't know if they still do that though.
I don't know.
Twilight Zone's just so cool though, man. It's like
'Cause-
it's timeless.
Because then now they do the, what do they call it? It's After Dark.
Oh, like Monsters After Dark or something.
Yeah, what do they call that?
Well, it's like the monsters get out of the containment, so
Right.
the ride's a little different.
But the whole ride changes.
so cool.
Yeah. Oliver wasn't sure about that. Like, dude, it's because we went on the ride during the day, but then it was like After Dark,
It's like kind of creepy, yeah.
it was a little bit more creepy, and
So cool.
I'm like, dude, it's gonna be okay. It's the same ride, it's just a little different, and it was fine. But
Do you like it?
He did. He was fine. Yeah, it's not like scary. It's just kind of the unknown of like, oh, there's gonna be like monsters that get loose.
Yeah.
And Rocket's just like, all right, everyone, like, put your hands in the air and scream really loud. So then all the things will, anyway, in other words, like, go to the elevator. Oliver's like, it's fine.
So, I haven't gone on it at all, either as Tower of Terror or Guardians version. So they still keep it kind of like spooky and intense.
Yes. from what I remember, is like during the day, it's like a gallery of like. Have you seen Guardians of the Galaxy?
The first one.
Yeah, so it's like the collectors like area. It's like so it's like there's a bunch of cool Marvel stuff there. It's like cool artifacts that are in like that are inside of like boxes and stuff from what I remember. And then at like during the nighttime they change all the lighting so it looks like the systems are down or it's like containment breach or whatever. And then like everybody acts a little different. It's like a little bit more like okay, you know, it's like all right, you guys better get on, you know, or like whatever. Like, the cast members are like that.
It's like monitors running where there's like a gal like talking to a surveillance camera, like she's freaked out. And there's like something coming, and then that glitches out. So it kind of creates this whole ambiance of like, ooh, what are we getting into here? Like, monsters loose? Something happened?
Yeah.
The Star Tours is underrated. You know that?
I like the Star Tours.
People give it a bad rap because it's literally just one of those like. Remember when Mesa Mall used to have those things where you like get in them and they just like boom. I remember walking by those as a kid, being like, "I want to go in one of those," and Mom was like, "It's like $13. We're not going in there." But it's effective. Like you feel like you're actually like going up and down and falling. It's like in a way you kind of are.
That one made me just slightly nauseous.
A little bit.
Yeah. Like the movement, the screen, what you see doesn't quite like
look real.
Or just match up in your brain or something. Same thing with the Harry Potter ride, where your feet are dangling.
Yes, and like a bunch of the screens and stuff, and you're like going through the whole of Hogwarts.
Like you're flying on a broom.
That one like is a little.
At Universal.
That's Universal. And you get done, and it's just like, I need to take a minute.
I will say, Hagrid's ride is probably one of the best
ride I've ever been on.
I've ever been on.
It's so amazing.
So cool. Yeah.
So cool.
You guys ever go to Universal in California?
It's Florida.
No, Florida. Dang it.
Yeah.
But the Hagrid's ride, I don't know how we were able to get in either. It was like when it first came out, it was like we were really lucky to get in. Super cool. It's like almost really just traditional roller coaster, but it's really small scale. But like, I don't know what it is about it. It's just you go so fast. It's so cool.
You're in line and you can hear motorcycles, and you get close, and as you're getting close to where it's time to get on the ride, then like, motorcycle comes up with a sidecar, and people get out, and then you get on. You're like, get on the motorcycle. Someone gets in the sidecar. There's a headlight on it. The handlebars.
You're just out in the open. It's so cool.
And then you go out in the open, and it's like kind of like looks like ruins of the castle and all that.
Yeah.
And you're just like going on this crazy ride, and like you can hear, he's talking in the microphone or whatever behind you, and however they designed it, I don't know, but it's just a
so
fun
cool.
ride.
Once the kids are older, we're really excited to go to Universal.
Obviously Disney is like better. Like there's a lot of things that Disney does right. Overall, but like there's just something that's really cool about like Universal, especially the Harry Potter areas is really cool.
Yeah, I'd love to check out Hogwarts and
they did a good
beer.
job with it. Yeah, it's like it's almost up to that Disney level of
like you're walking through Universal, and then there's like this big brick wall. There's like the 3-level bus or whatever, and then you like walk through like this dark entryway, and you kind of walk around this other brick wall, and then all of a sudden, then you're in Hogwarts.
You go through like Diagon Alley.
Yeah, so with the Florida one, it's very similar to Disneyland. They have two parks essentially. It's like the traditional and like the adventure one or whatever. The adventure one I think has Hogwarts in it. So you go to Hogwarts and there's Hogsmeade that's next to it. So you're kind of in a cool town area. And then they have the traditional ride. And then that's where Hagrid's ride was. And then Diagon Alley has its own ride in the bank. But yeah, like the Diagon Alley one is like you're just kind of walking. It's like next to the Fast and Furious ride, and there's like this brick wall. But like the wall's like this. You go in, you go around the wall, and then you're in Diagon Alley. You're like, whoa.
Yeah, a bunch of shops and everything.
Yeah,
the music's playing the whole time you're there.
And you're like, oh, I didn't know
the
this
bank
was
is
here.
at the end of the street with the dragon on top.
And the dragon will spit fire.
But every 15 minutes or so, you can hear him start like doing like guttural noises, and you know that here in the next probably 2 or 3 minutes, and you can feel the heat. It's like a huge billow of flame that comes like down, like it's just crazy.
It's very cool. Very cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, and it's like not hidden, but it's just like you're like, oh, I guess I'm here now. Like,
Which is kind of the point.
Yeah, it's Diagon Alley. Yeah. So
it's like you walk through a portal and you're in another world.
I will say though, with Star Tours, I love Star Tours, and unfortunately, I don't think they do that anymore at Disneyland.
Yeah, they do.
It was there when we were there.
Do they still do that? Okay.
Yeah.
Is that in Tomorrowland?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought they.
It's like right past the little rockets in the front.
I thought,
rocket thing. Yeah.
But something that was very similar to that was that new Star Wars ride that I told you, that I was telling you guys about, that we went on. That was super cool. That basically it's like Rise of the Resistance or something. It's basically with the new Star Wars movies, but you go in
Disneyland.
Yes, Disneyland.
In like the Star Wars area.
In the Star Wars area. So you go in and you're like, because the Star Wars area really, they just had the Millennium Falcon ride, and that was kind of it for the first part. But then they released this one not too long ago.
We didn't really do anything over there.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's been really busy. There's a lot of long wait times.
Really, nothing for little kids.
Not really. It's just kind of like, if you're a really big Star Wars fan, it's kind of cool to be over there. But that one was really cool because you go into this shuttle and then like okay, we gotta go. Kind of like Star Tours, and then you get like, oh, the First Order got you, and then you just open up and you're in this whole huge room with a bunch of stormtroopers just standing there, and you literally just walk in this other line and you go into something else. And then you go into these like little like pods that are like sliding around the floor, and like Kylo Ren's coming after you and stuff. It's super cool.
There's cast members that are like in character, bossing you around,
Yes.
telling you to go stand over there.
I like that.
It's like you're actually there. It's really cool. I was really happy with that ride.
Do you guys do the new Mickey Mouse ride?
Which one?
I don't remember what it's called. I think it's in Toontown.
That was like the one area I'd never go to in Disneyland.
Yeah, well, it's more for little kids.
Always
but
in the back.
It is a new ride.
We didn't. I'm trying to think what that is.
And they're so good at doing like that immersive stuff. So you go in. Runaway Railway, I think is what it's called. It's a new ride they put in Toontown,
Huh.
possibly this year. And you go in, and they get like a section of people, and they have you go into a little movie theater.
Okay.
That's maybe like from like the size of like this fence to maybe possibly the concrete over there. And they push you all in there, and there's a movie theater screen.
Yeah.
And they just kind of shove like a bunch of people in there. And so you're just kind of like standing shoulder to shoulder. And then the cast members says like, all right, see you guys in like an hour and a half, and closes the door. And then like a little like old Mickey Mouse cartoon starts playing on the screen. And in the Mickey Mouse cartoon, Goofy like shows up in a car or like a train, and like goes towards the screen, and then there's like a flash of light, everything goes dark, and there's a big blue pillow,
Plume of like
billowing, a plume of billowing smoke, which is just like steam or whatever, coming like from in front, and we're like, what the heck? And then like it fades, and now it looks like there's been like a hole in the movie theater screen.
That is super cool.
You go through in there, and then there's the actual line for the ride.
That is super sick.
Yeah, we didn't do that.
Where you're on this like runaway train.
That's kind of like the Haunted Mansion one. They go in like that waiting room, and then
and then you're just like,
kind of goes,
whoa.
and, like stuff happens, and then you kind of go into a different line.
Yeah. They psych you out with the fake waiting rooms.
I like
And
those.
I didn't know anything about the ride
Yeah.
when we were going on there. Like Haley watches all the vlogs, so she knows about all the new rides coming up. And she didn't tell me anything about it. And we're just in there, and he says that, and I'm like, are we really gonna like stay in here for an hour to like just watch a cartoon?
Right,
What are we doing? And then just I'm like, oh, I can't do this. But
That's cool.
Disney's so good at doing that kind of stuff.
Well, even the Star Wars area, like you're over in what's that area of the park where they got the railroad?
Well, there is there's like a train
and there's the
monorail.
Is it Frontierland?
That's like the cowboy one, and then there's the...
Right, so you kind of go through that, and then down around,
That's
and
right.
you go under the tracks for, I think, the
monorail?
monorail maybe, and then you come out into Star Wars area.
Yes, yeah.
All the sounds change. They got like speakers strategically
the
placed on
biome
trees and
changes,
stuff,
yeah.
and you hear like weird creatures making noises in the forest while you're walking along. It's like the whole, it's like you're in a different park. It's like they just do such a good job.
Even the main street when you first walk in, and all the like forced perspective stuff that they do, like I could just eat that up. It's so cool.
Agreed. It's crazy how they have like the Frontierland and then like the the jungle area, like right next to each other.
Yeah.
And then like they kind of merge into where the Pirates of the Caribbean area is.
Right.
So it's kind of like that southern area. They got the big boat.
The New Orleans area is probably my favorite part of
Yeah, it's so aesthetically pleasing, and it's just like such a not relaxing, but it's just kind of nice.
It
area
is
to be in.
relaxing, dude. Getting the mint julep and
Club 33's hidden over there.
Oh, going back into like the little like the architecture is so good.
it is. I love it.
And then I love Pirates of the Caribbean is probably like my favorite Disney ride.
We went on that twice.
It's so good.
The kids loved it.
It's
They were a
old,
little
but it's
uncertain at first. Violet was a little
Yeah.
scared, but then the next day, she was like, "I want to go on that again."
I was probably 5 when I went on that for the first time.
Yeah.
It's good.
And
City was 2, and then Violet was. I think she hadn't turned 3 quite yet.
Yeah.
So
I mean, as a kid, it's just like, this is so cool. Like, what is this? Yeah.
I wish I could have gone as a kid because like as a grown up, like you see through the veil a
Yeah.
little bit, but as a kid, like it's gotta
I'm
be the best thing.
surprised. I am and I'm not. I'm kind of surprised that Mom and Dad never took you and Bethany. Because they definitely had more means to do that later.
We did some stuff with Mom and Dad, but they never took us to Disneyland or anything
Yeah.
like that.
And I think they'd only gone that one time ever when they took us when we were kids.
Oh yeah, we only went once.
Grandma and Grandpa gave them an early inheritance of like 10 grand, which back then that was quite a bit of money.
Oh,
And I think they used that to pay off some bills. They might have bought a newer station wagon, and then Mom really wanted to take us to Disneyland.
oh.
You
Well,
know, as a-
I know she got some claustrophobia there.
Yeah,
I heard.
I could definitely see that.
I know whenever we bring up Disneyland, that's the one thing that she mentions. It's like the crowds. She can handle the crowds.
Well, especially now, it's like, man. I mean,
You know-
crowds have always been an issue there. But
Like, me being like, the guy being like task oriented and like trying to organize things and not knowing all the ins and outs of the parks like Haley does.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, if I knew that there was a parade every freaking night, then we would have like scheduled around this.
know that it comes at 8:30,
It's
and
like,
we need to avoid this
Like,
area.
we can't push the stroller through this crowd on the sidewalk.
No.
It's impossible.
Nope.
I'm just like, and there were some nights where like I was pushing the stroller back to the hotel like as a corpse. And I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
so tired.
Oh yeah.
But we went. Our first day was the day after their like Pride celebration.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of people still hanging around from that.
Yeah.
Some a little too flamboyant for my taste.
Yeah.
Given that I had like kids there, and they
Yeah.
were like,
It's a family park. It's
Yeah.
like, come on.
but it was going right into Pixar Fest, and so the last day we were there, I mean, I was so tired, but they were doing like a big. We were able to stay late enough for the fireworks,
Wow.
and they had like Pixar things like
Yeah.
flashing on the Main Street buildings, and that was pretty cool.
That's cool.
So
So in Adventureland for Halloween, I guess I never finished that. They bring a headless horseman holding a pumpkin, and the horse has like red eyes, kind of like the creepy horse out by DIA.
Lucifer.
Yeah.
Mustang.
And they do such a good job. Every once in a while, like noises start happening. You hear like crows like making noises, but it's speakers down in the bushes around this like circular sitting area with a flower bed, and the horse and the headless horseman is in the middle of that big statue that they brought in, like metal horse. I mean, it's really well done. You start to hear like weird crow sounds and creepy music, and then you hear like a horse noise, like, like grunt, and all of a sudden you see a little bit of smoke coming out of the horse's nostrils, and it's like, oh, it's starting to ramp up, and people start to like gather around, and then it gets more, and you can hear the headless horseman like do his crazy laugh cackle thing, and super cool. And then there's this, I don't know what the building is. You know how they just have buildings, but there's one that's, I don't know if it's supposed to be like the facade of an old like Spanish church, but it's like 2 stories tall. Well, they do a projector on that, turn it all green, and it looks like there's like these growing, creepy, thorny vines all around the spire. And it's just all projected, but
Yeah.
it looks super cool.
They work magic with projectors.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do it.
I guess in in the Harry Potter area. Remember that, Riley, where they also do the projectors on the castle, and they make it look
Yes.
like spiders are crawling up the castle, and
For like an event or something. It was, I think it was like a, was it a Halloween? It might have been a Halloween event as well, but it was like, yeah, they did like a, they'd put projectors and lights on the castle, and then it'd be like something would be happening and all that. And kind of, so like these vines or spiders crawling.
but it was
up
almost
on
like a whole presentation, and
Yeah.
then there was the Patronum or whatever. There's like the ghost light horse thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how they did that.
Patronus.
It's like through the air, like coming towards the castle, and then light shows, and then explosions, and it looked like fire, like half the castle was on fire, but it wasn't. It was just projection. It was just so well done. Yeah, that stuff's super cool. I could watch that all the time.
Yeah. And like, especially at Disney, there's so much of it happening all the time.
Yeah,
It's like a living, breathing place.
there's like a parade happening in the main area, but then
Yeah.
there's also like a little event happening over in the Star Wars area. It's like,
We did one day at California Adventure across the way, and we're just walking through the pier area, and like all of a sudden, just the army men from Toy Story just drive by in a truck, and they're
Yeah.
playing like a march, like an army march, and like, bye.
What are they doing?
just
Yep.
just hanging out, just driving through. It's like wasn't expecting to see you, but there you go.
guys,
It's good stuff.
We were over by the Spider-Man ride,
yeah, that's a pretty fun ride.
where you're like pretending like you're slinging webs at like the little
Little bots. or
bots
whatever.
that are replicating and taking over. Get out of that, over by the restrooms waiting for Mom. It's just Oliver and I sitting there. I mean, two cast members come from behind the gate, and it's Black Widow
I think so. Yeah.
and I don't know all my Marvel characters. but
Another Avenger.
another Avenger.
What do they look like?
He wasn't Captain America. I don't know who he's supposed to be, honestly.
Was it maybe Sam Wilson's Captain America, the Falcon, or
I think so.
was he black?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a black Captain
Yeah.
America.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's Sam Wilson's Captain America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Came out, stopped, fist bumps Oliver,
That's
and says,
super cool.
"Welcome to the team." And then they just keep walking.
Nice.
Oliver's like,
That's so cool.
"Yeah, yeah." That was
Yeah, they even when we were there, they did this whole like event because there's like over by the Spider-Man ride, there's like that big like that base thing that's kind of like right there across from like this area that you can eat at.
Where is this?
In this, you know, in the California Adventure Park. So you know the tower where,
right
like,
around the corner from the Tower of Terror.
Yeah, so the Tower of Terror is gonna be like to the
Okay.
right of that. There's like all
Okay.
that the Marvel stuff. Well, there's this like base or something that's there, and then there's like the Pim Particle like diner where like food's super big or really small or something that you can eat at. Well, they just started like a thing just started happening where like it was like Black Widow and Black Panther were like fighting off like Taskmaster or something, or Loki would be looking over and stuff at night.
We walked through that area one time, and they were just finishing up some kind of routine like that.
Yeah.
And Owen was kind of upset that he missed it.
Yeah, they do like a whole like fight and
Yeah.
stuff. It's like kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
They do it for like 10 minutes. And
It just kind of like, you can kind of tell something's about to start. You've got some
cast members.
cast members out, kind of getting people out of the way because something's about to start.
You did it.
Good job, guys.
Why, we don't know. But we catch it.
Good luck getting on the fence.
But yeah, we caught it this last time too. We just got done eating and came out. I'm like, oh, Oliver, I think something's about to start.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty much the same one that we had watched.
Yeah, they do like a lot of fighting and stuff, which is kind of cool.
Guy's acting like he's like shooting arrows, and then arrows like pop out of like.
Yeah, it's so cool. Yeah.
But it looks like they're getting stuck, but they're actually popping out backwards. You know, it's just cool. But stuff like that, I don't think that's on any schedule. If you're just there at the right time, you just get to see it.
Yeah. It's cool stuff. I think
the ambiance of it.
one time we were, I think it was in California Adventure. We were like walking through to go up to the pier, and cast members were like telling people to like stop in this like main thoroughfare, like don't walk through here. And there's like a path that they were making, and I was like, oh, what's gonna happen here? restaurant just over there, someone getting wheeled down on a gurney.
Oh.
I'm like, oh,
this is like
this isn't
real.
This is a real thing. Something bad happened at the restaurant.
Happened when we were there too. We're right in front of the whatever it's called, the V8 diner. They're over in the Cars area, and yeah, they were like, all right, clear a path. I'm like, oh, maybe it's going to be like Lightning McQueen or something. You know, it was a
Someone had,
obese person on a gurney having troubles.
oops.
But nothing to see here.
Yeah.
Did you guys do the Cars ride?
The kids did with Bethany.
The Cars ride is really fun.
I had taken Violet on the like Mater one where you're like swinging around the back of the trucks. But when we were there that day, the rides were breaking down left and right.
Really?
I don't know if because it's a newer park that they're just not as well made or something.
No.
But
That could be.
I was waiting in line for the Goofy Sky School, the plain one with Owen, and we were in that line for over 30 minutes. We were almost to the end, and then it broke down and we had to leave. And of course he was upset. But that Cars one broke down while they were in line for it, and so they had to wait like an hour and a half to get on that one.
I remember being on that one and like we were like about to go in the tunnel and then we stopped and then like because somebody had to like couldn't get on or something like something was going on. I was like sitting there for like 10 minutes. I was like, kind of stinks.
That's a good ride though.
It is a good ride. I feel like it does stop a lot.
Basically racing the other car through like Radiator Springs. It's pretty cool.
I only heard the kids' explanation of it, so I barely understood what it's about. But
You basically go through Radiator Springs at night, and then you see like all that stuff. And Mater talks to you, and you get like a paint job and stuff. And you see all the characters, and it's really cool because they have like some of the characters are animatronics, so their mouth kind of moves like up and down a little bit. But then they have like a projection on their like the eyes, so then the eyes move back and forth. But then like for Lightning, like Lightning McQueen, he'll say like a lot of different stuff. So like his mouth isn't on there, but he's got a projection on for his mouth, so you like say different lines different times and stuff. Pretty cool. So it's like a little uncanny, but it's almost pretty accurate.
Yeah, it's cool. You start inside basically.
Yeah,
you
like
go
inside
through like
of
you're
it.
getting the paint job, but it's like misters. So you go through and it's like misting you, but it's like supposed to be like a spray gun, you know, like an automatic paint booth. And then all of a sudden, like curtain opens, and then you're out on the open road, like you're driving through the, the part where him and the girl car, the Porsche, are driving up through the
like the
canyon, and there's the waterfall. You drive through all of that.
It's really cool.
You're like outside, the wind's in your hair, you're in a car. It's like
kind of going slow, nice little stroll, and then at the end, then you can do like a race with the other car, which is pretty cool. Yeah,
they did a good job. But it's 3-seater, and so if you go back and the kids are a little bit older, you can get in the single rider line because there's most people are couples, right? Most people go on as couples. So we got on. We did the single rider with Oliver. Like, dude, are you sure you're okay with this? He's like, yeah. Well, I forgot, when you get up to that line, there's like, 10 different lines to get in the cars. So I'm like, I'll go first, Oliver will go next, and then Andrea, and so then I'll get off, and then Oliver will get off. Nope, they sent me to number 12. They sent Oliver up to like number 2, and then Andrea got somewhere in the middle. He gets off first.
Oh.
He's like walking back down that path with a bunch of people. He starts to cry.
Oh.
He's kind of freaking out. Where's mom and dad?
Yeah.
Andrea gets off 5 seconds later, sees him, a little ways down, went down. Hey, Oliver, it's okay. Sorry. We were supposed to get off before you. Then he was fine, but it was kind of one of those like, where am I? Where's mom and dad? And
it's a little chaotic after then because you're like going down this path with all these weird people, or not weird, just people with the ride, and then you're kind of like, okay, now I'm out back.
I kind of had that with Owen because we did Matterhorn, which I had never been on before.
Matterhorn is destroy your body.
Holy crap,
it
dude!
Hurts, dude.
Lacerate your liver.
So this is what made it worse though, because I didn't realize that it was like single. You sit not like side by side,
Right.
and so
Old school.
so we're going up to get on, me and Owen. And I'm looking at the cars. I'm like, oh, like he's gonna have to sit like in front of me.
Yeah.
And so like, I'm trying to like, and as we're like trying to get on, he's like, Dad, I need to go potty. I'm like, Please don't pee yourself while we're on this,
Right,
please.
because you might.
You might.
Especially when Bumble was chasing you and screaming at you.
So he sits in the front, and I'm right behind him. I get him all buckled, and like I don't know how intense the ride is going to be. So the whole ride, I am like leaning around to like to hold him,
Yeah.
to make sure that he's okay. And of
While you're
course,
destroying your spine.
and I hadn't been on it before. I didn't realize like this is the like most uncomfortable ride I've ever been on in my life.
They're hard seats. You're really compressed, and then you're just like going. Like, you're getting
super jerky.
I know,
yeah,
it's like
your ribs are getting broken. You know?
and all the whole time I'm just trying to be like I don't want my son to die in the front seat. We get off and he's like, "Oh, Dad, that was great," and I'm like, "Good." like that's all I care about. I didn't care about the ride for myself.
Yeah.
I was just worried that like you were going to like as it was starting, like this is so vibrating and like crazy that like I really hope that you're not freaking out. You don't pee yourself in the front seat. But it turned out to be okay. But I was like,
Great ride if you're like a middle schooler, maybe a high schooler, because you'll fit in the seat a little bit better. Your spine can withstand it.
I was struggling even when last time we went. I was
man.
too tall for it. I was like,
it's like realizing like, okay, so that was OG Disney's version of a roller coaster, and it hasn't been upgraded since then. And
I've only been on it once, but same. It's almost always broke down. That and Space Mountain.
dude, Space Mountain is always under maintenance. I don't know what it is.
we missed Space Mountain this time, but that's a good one.
It is.
That's a great one.
Great ride.
And they converted it to Star Wars for a few years, and then I think they got some pushback, and now they've gone all the way back to like retro, old school
Yes.
Space Mountain,
Which
which
is good.
I like.
Yes.
It's like mostly dark in there.
Nice.
Don't know where you're going next, and pretty smooth roller coaster. We got on that one. We did Fast Pass this time, or whatever they call it now. Paid $30 extra per ticket or something, but and even then, it's like you can't do.
That's not that bad though.
It's not too bad
for a day.
Rise of the Resistance wasn't even available for that.
Ugh.
And then if you wanted to do another ride, it was like Fast Pass Plus, an extra $30 a person. Like, freaking A. Like, we've already done the upgraded pass.
Disney's kind of hurting though, as far as like park attendance.
Yeah.
So like, which is kind of crazy because like it felt the crowds were a little thick while we were there, and Haley was like, "This actually is pretty good."
Yeah.
Really?
The crowds were thick when we were there, but not nearly as much as when we've been there at Christmas. We did Christmas twice, and that's just a mistake.
Just everyone in LA comes out.
They all have season passes. They open presents, and then they come down to Disneyland for the day.
Wow.
Insane. Like the one year we were there, I think their capacity is like 85,000 people. So they closed the gates at like noon because they were at capacity. So many people. Good time of the year to go because you're not out just in the blazing hot sun.
The
Gets chilly in the evenings.
The weather was better this time than the first time I went.
Was it?
Yeah.
It was good for us this time.
Good.
October seems like a good month to go.
Yeah. I will say having less hair helps. First time I went, I had like it was longer than this. I hadn't had a haircut in a long time, but I got a haircut right before I went this time. I'm like, good, because I'll sweat up a storm if it, especially the humid.
And that's just not fun.
Yeah, feeling like I'm just trying to survive the elements while I'm at a theme park is not fun.
Right, and then you're gonna somehow enjoy a ride.
While managing kids
sweaty,
and bathroom
gross,
breaks and meals and
all you've eaten is like weird junk food all day.
yeah, it's like I had $7 popcorn. And now I need to go to a restaurant. We're going to spend $50 to eat there.
Yeah.
It's such a pleasant experience, though, all things considered. I did have a great time. Haley was worried that as we were driving home, she was like, I really hope that the kids weren't like too overwhelmed or stressed and like upset that they weren't able to go on all the rides they wanted to go on. I'm like, they're going to talk so highly about this trip when we get back, I promise.
Yeah.
And they did. They loved it, and they still talk about it.
And to your point, the adult experience is very different from the kids' experience.
Sure.
You know, because I remember going with Mom and Dad. I remember it being really hot. They probably went right in the middle of summer. I remember standing in line for Pirates. We were like outside, where they put the rope up
Yep.
loop it back and forth and back and
Up over
forth.
the bridge and all that.
Yeah, and that was how many decades ago? It was even busy back then. And I remember being really thirsty, and I think they must have had like a sun-kissed like booth or stand, because we got a big round, like an orange plastic container with a straw in it. And it was
Nice.
orange juice. We were like really hot and really thirsty, so you're drinking this like really heavy, sugary orange juice. Remember, like looking back, it's like those probably weren't cheap.
Yeah.
Why didn't we have any water? No one drank water back then. By the way.
We put like, I mean, we filled all our water bottles, brought
Yeah.
them in, and brought in extra like 3 or 4 Aquafina bottles.
Yep.
It's like that was like every time we've gone, I'm like, we're bringing a 24 pack of Aquafina bottles.
Yeah.
Or at least picking up one while we're there.
And we've learned too, it's like bringing a lot of snacks for the kids, because you can bring all that stuff
Yeah,
in. We'll make
yeah.
peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and just throw them in bags and throw them in a backpack. Like every time I go, I always bring a backpack now. We used to always bring a stroller, but Oliver's big enough now. This was the first time, no stroller.
No
and
stroller?
Oliver, he did
Nice.
fine the whole
Nice.
time.
That's good.
You know, when they get tired, it's like, and sometimes the stroller's nice because you can put a backpack on it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so you're not carrying it the whole time. But it was nice not having the stroller for the crowd reasons, because some people are just so oblivious.
They don't
Like, we're
know.
walking along, and there'd be like this big family with all the stupid matching
They're all
t-shirts.
walking like this way. Like
They're
we're
walking this way, talking to each other, like they're having their own Disney experience. It's like you are right in the middle of the path.
Nobody can get around you.
Oblivious,
It's like the
yeah.
Wall of China right now.
Yep.
I remember on YouTube, I got recommended a video called "How to Walk," and it's this guy, some Indian guy who like, I don't know if I'd call him an actor. He was in Mean Girls, but he's just like a very down to earth guy. He likes like pottery and like making his own soap and stuff like that, and just he likes enjoying life. He's very slow. Slow paced, I should say. He's not slow. I watched a bit of that, and I watched some of his other videos. I really like him, but he lives in New York, and he just talked about like basic walking etiquette. It's like keep your eyes up, and like try to stay to the right side of the sidewalk.
Yep.
He encourages people to look up so that you can see like nice details in the architecture around you.
Yep.
It's a really nice video actually.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking it really funny when I just saw the title and thumbnail.
How
like,
to Walk.
How to Walk. And then
But it's kind of
a month later we're at Disneyland. I'm like, these people need to freaking watch that video.
Agreed. Yeah.
It's like zero etiquette with like half of the crowd.
Young people like looking at their phones, literally walking into you.
Mhm.
Yeah, I had that happen several times. I'm like, excuse me.
Yeah, like especially like me pushing, a 2-kid stroller,
Yeah.
and then like Haley with 2 of the other kids, and I'm like stuck in like a stream of traffic going this way, and she's already made it through, and I'm like, okay.
Like, I'd like to stay with my family if that's all right.
Yeah, it's and that's the hard one, is when you have like just a burst of like a thick burst of people
Yeah.
going like a different direction, perpendicular direction from you.
Yeah.
You're just like, I basically just have to like wait like this is a traffic light.
Yep.
you're walking through mud. You're like, "Ugh, ugh." You're like,
Yeah, it's like I'm trying to get through it, but also it's like, okay, I'm kind of like doing you guys a disservice too.
Yeah. That's funny.
And then the freaking parades at the end of the day, I like every single time, I was like, I wasn't planning for this. It's like,
Yeah.
when do they happen? Like 8, 9, something like that.
Yeah.
Park closes at like midnight. right?
Midnight. Yeah, it's well after dark. It's probably, I was saying 8:30, but it kind of felt like that time, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, and then they do that's when they do the fireworks too, right? Which doing fireworks every single night,
That's impressive.
that is impressive.
I think they do them later. They might be more like 10, I think.
I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember because we never, this last trip we did Disney one day and California Adventure the next, and we were back at our hotel, and then we heard the fireworks going off. So,
Do you guys stay on site, or do you do one of the nearby hotels?
so Melissa, our travel agent, she always gets us hooked up with one of the sister properties. So we stay at Howard Johnson, old school, old like hotel architecture, but they've totally capitalized on that and made the whole thing retro. So it's super clean,
You're back.
really tidy, looks great. Has like a teeny little like water park thing for the kids, like little splash pad sort of thing with like a couple water slides. And he's like, you cross the street, go down a block, and then you go right in through security at Disney. So you're like right there.
Oh, that's nice.
McDonald's is
Yeah.
a couple buildings down, so you can grab Mickey D's on your way in if you want.
So you know,
It's a fraction of the cost of staying at one of the hotels in the park.
yeah. So there's a traffic light at the entrance.
So we're one traffic light down from that is Howard Johnson. But it backs up to the big interstate that goes by. So
Yeah, I think that
you could hear that all night. That wasn't great.
I think that may have been where we stayed the first time. I don't know, but this last time we stayed at like literally the hotel behind the one
Yep.
that we had. So we had an extra like half block to traverse
Gotcha.
this time. So it's maybe like leaving hotel to getting to the entrance probably took 5 to 7 minutes.
Okay.
So it wasn't too bad.
That's not bad.
But man, when it's at the end of the day and you're pushing that stroller of sleeping kids.
We went one year with Cammy and Dave and the boys, and we stayed at a hotel that it was probably a mile away, and we walked, and that was brutal, especially at the end of the day.
Oh man.
I think Dave might have planned it or something. I think the price was right for the hotel, but it just wasn't as close as we thought it was going to be. You know, pushing the stroller, and got all the kids. Oh.
It's rough.
So it's nice being able to just like walk right out of the park, cross at the light, go down a few, and then you're home.
Yeah, this time there was things about it that were better, things about it that were worse, but overall it was a good experience. I liked it.
Yeah, it's fun. Even as an adult, you know. Andrew and I went when we were first married out in Davenport, Iowa. Went
Yeah.
right after 9/11. Went to Disney World, Epcot, and all of that, which was great right after 9/11 because the park was like empty. So we just walked right on every single ride.
Wow.
It was kind of actually fun to go as a couple, you know, without kids. I mean, kids make it more fun because they're just like, "Wow, this is crazy." But as a couple, you're able to like walk a little faster and be a little bit more strategic. But
Well, and like people make fun of the grown-ups who regularly go to Disney, which I will.
Yeah.
I'll make fun of them.
Yeah.
But there's plenty for adults to enjoy, and also like these Disney-related things have been around since like the 30s and 40s.
yeah,
So like this is stuff that people have grown up with at all ages.
yep.
You know, like you might not know what Marvel is, but I'm sure you know what Pinocchio and Peter Pan are,
Right.
and Mickey Mouse and all that. So
We did the Winnie the Pooh ride for the first time.
Yeah.
We were waiting for the queue for Haunted Mansion, which is across the
freaking
street.
trippy, isn't it?
It is. It's like, what is
It's
this?
like an acid trip. In
Yeah,
there.
I wasn't sure what to expect. I'm like, this is different.
Yeah.
Walter liked it.
It almost scared Violet a little bit actually,
Really?
which was kind of funny. It's like it's Winnie the Pooh.
But the end of the ride, it's like, this is weird.
Yeah, he's having like a fever dream, and then
Yeah.
and then everyone's like, "Ah, Winnie the Pooh's here!" And it's like,
It's your birthday.
It's your birthday.
Okay. Yep.
What is it with the Peter Pan ride? Do you know about this? How it's like the line, like there's some kind of like people love it, and we went on it the first time,
Okay.
like 2018,
Yeah.
and I'm like, really? This is like, it's no different than like Pinocchio or Winnie the Pooh across the way. Why are people going nuts about this Peter Pan ride?
I don't know either. And I had no patience to stand in the line that long for Peter Pan, but it was a huge line when we were there. It's just
There's
so
nothing special about it.
Yeah.
And don't get me started on Small World, dude.
I like Small World. It's charming.
Oh my, yeah, for the first 30
Well,
seconds.
yeah, you go on it once and then you're good. I think.
Oh my gosh! Like by the time we were like 45 minutes into the ride, I'm like, I'm done, and then there's another like 45 minutes.
It's kind of a long ride. It's longer than it should be.
It's like if I have to hear this melody one more time. It's like it's not even really dark. You're like riding through fairly well lit rooms, and you're just like, I'm in like a big black room with a bunch of old animatronics singing the same song to me over and over and over again. Like
I'm a slow moving boat.
I'm not having it, man.
Yeah. It's like fun for like the first 5 minutes, and you're like, okay, this is.
That's probably one of the strangest rides.
It's really random too. It's like, I don't know.
That's one that feels antiquated, dude.
And right before we left, there's these videos out there of like weird dudes like getting off the ride and just like wandering through the set, like sitting down and like, hanging out there.
Oh yeah.
Really?
They had to call security, and it's like, what are you doing? Some weird dude with like a mask on, and it's like, that's creepy. Like,
People just take drugs and
it's
they
like
go
a
on
kid's
and
ride.
It's like,
It is a small world, isn't it?
yeah, it is, yeah. Guys, it's actually small in here.
It is small.
It's actually small.
The rides are small.
But it's like you go on like Pirates, and like if you look up, you can kind of see the roof a little bit, but like
Especially when you're in that restaurant area, you can kind of see like, the black like.
yeah.
roof,
But like on Small World, it's like so well lit that you're just like I'm in a warehouse on a little rail car.
Yeah.
It's like there's no illusion at all.
Yeah.
There's no magic. It's just animatronics singing the same melody to you for like 4 hours, and then you're done.
It smells kind of moist and chlorine. And
Which, to be fair, the Pirates animatronics haven't aged well, but like they seem to be like the same ones that have been in there the whole time, except for Jack Sparrow.
they've changed it over time. It used to be there was that section where the pirates were like they were auctioning off women. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And they were dressed like they were prostitutes or something. So they've changed that. That's not there anymore. Now there's a female pirate. I don't know if you've noticed that. There wasn't before.
Yeah, maybe.
So they're getting more diverse.
Yeah.
But it's changed a little bit over the years. But like even the Toad ride, you guys been on that?
Toad.
Mr. Toad's Grand Adventure, whatever it's called.
No.
Where he's driving a car crazy through town, crashes, dies, goes to hell.
Yeah.
Really?
You go to hell in that ride.
There's Satan. There's like flame, like hell's flames. You can feel
This is
heat.
in Disneyland?
This is over in the kids section.
Yeah, it's like right next to where you pull Excalibur and the big merry it's right next to Peter Pan's ride.
It's right next to Peter.
You literally just go on this like little weird cart. You go on this crazy ride. You go to hell and then you're done.
I didn't know this existed.
Yeah.
It makes no sense that ride still exists.
It's so good though. It's so good. It's such a fun ride.
Mr. Toad's Grand Adventure or something.
Yeah, wild ride.
It's
yeah.
an old Disney, you
Okay,
know.
well, I'm
story.
going to have to tell Haley about that because I didn't know it existed, and I'm going to blame her for it.
Yeah. We'd heard about it, and
It does not usually have that long of a wait time too. It's like 15 minutes maybe just to get through, like going in and getting all the way through until you sit down.
That's because all the attention is on freaking Peter Pan.
Yes. Peter Pan ride's alright. It's overrated.
they were still redoing the Splash Mountain. That's now
It's closed both times we went.
Tatiana's something.
It's like Princess and the Frog theme.
Yeah, they're building new structures. There's going to be this whole. It'll
Really?
be like its own section of the park.
Yeah, it's
Because
like a
I
Princess
know-
and the Frog theme.
I know that they were redoing part of the New Orleans section for Princess and the Frog, but they're doing Splash
it's-
Mountain that too?
Yeah, and Splash Mountain's going to be New Orleans themed because that's Princess and the Frog and all. It's all
Yeah.
going to have the same
Really?
look and feel. So they were building new stuff. It was all like boarded off, but you could see new structures being built back there. And
I think it was just under maintenance the first time, but it was closed this time too.
yeah, it looks like it's. They had some. You could tell some new signage up where they're trying to rebrand it all, and they had some like sketched graphics of what it's going to look like, and it's like, oh, this is going to be a whole thing.
It's really interesting that they're willing to put that much effort into Princess and the Frog when that was like a movie for like 14 years ago.
Yeah.
Whatever. I'm kind of surprised that they're not. I mean, I guess like they try to limit it to California Adventure, but they're not really pushing on like the Pixar stuff that much. And like Inside Out just has like a simple little ride in California Adventure, and
Yeah.
I don't know. There's no Frozen stuff, is there?
I don't think so. I know like the characters are around, but I don't think there's like a ride or anything to do.
We did the Monsters Inc. ride. or we were
Yeah,
waiting.
Violet like that one.
We were waiting for something, and
We did
Alder
that
thought
with
was
Violet
cool.
while the other kids were doing the cars with Bethany.
Okay,
I don't know if I don't know the Monsters Inc. one.
it was a pretty short line, and
It's simple.
it's very simple.
I like Monsters Inc.
Monsters Inc. is great.
All right.
We done?
I think so. I'm so cold right now.
Oh, Riley, you got like 17 sweaters on.
I know.
How are you cold?
I didn't do